Welcome everyone to another SlabStox YouTube live show. My name is Aaron, one of your hosts tonight on Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. I am joined by Nate, and we've got a big episode tonight, a huge episode, as we are joined by Peter Steinberg, the CEO of SGC, to talk about SGC Grading and what they're doing in 2022 and how they grew so much in 2021. Now, if you'll notice right now, it looks like I'm frozen looking down at my computer because that is the case, is that the camera and my computer still are not cooperating together. Last night, I was having technical difficulties. Today I was putting in pretty much all the work to get all this stuff ready for tonight's live stream and for all the Instagram content today. So it just completely slipped my mind to do whatever I could to fix it. So I apologize. That looks like I'm going to be frozen the entire night. That's just how it's going to be. But you can still hear me, I'm pretty sure. Let me know in the comments if you can hear me, because that is the most important part. Otherwise, there'd be nothing if you could just see me and not hear me. What's up, Global? What's up, Diego and Robert? Good to see everyone here. And Nate, how you doing tonight?
Good.
Awesome. So Peter's going to be joining us about halfway through the show, a little bit after 6:30 now, since we are a little delayed, was trying to get this stuff situated before going live. But we've got a huge show, like I said, and we're going to start off with some market talk. And as you can see on the cover of today's show, there is an Anthony Edwards and Jason Dominguez we have to talk about as well. But before doing that, we've got the PWCC weekly auction number 3 recap here. We got 12 different sales to chat about really quick. And feel free to toss in your comments into the chat as we go through these, because there were some interesting debates from last night's auction. We finished the live stream last night around 10:15 Central Time as weekly number 3 wrapped up. And of course, there's some sales to discuss. And the first one that Nate pulled up was this Kaboom PSA 9 Tatis pre-rookie card. That's a 2018 Kaboom, still a prospect at that time. And then versus an on-card Transcendent Mike Trout Auto non-rookie PSA 10. They both sold for $1,320. Nate/chat. What are we thinking here? What are we thinking on that Kaboom versus Trout? Because Instagram was leaning heavy towards Trout.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's not – I think it said rookie on the PWCC monthly auction little tidbit, but it is not a rookie.
Weekly auction.
Or weekly auction. It is 2018. And 2018 non-rookie, non-licensed, short print numbered to something of Tatis, or – in auto, number 25 of Trout, even though it's non-rookie, easy.
I agree there. This one brought a lot of different talk on our live stream last night. Giannis Prism Red BGS 9.5, excuse me, rookie versus the 2019 Select John Morant Green off 5 PSA 10. They both sold for $9,600. That John Morant is a big, I have to assume. I remember it selling for around $4K, but I couldn't find the sale. But either way, that's the exact same sale dollar amount. And I have to agree with someone on Instagram. I don't remember who commented it, but they're talking about how there's like
Aaron, I think there was a knock at the door. I'm looking for a package. I'll be back.
All right. Sounds good. I'll keep it going. There is a million different cards of John Morant versus Giannis back in 2013. Like, there are so many different parallels, either in Select, Prism, Optic, Mosaic, whatever set you want to bring up. There's just so many different parallels that at some point, maybe it just seems like they all bleed together versus a Giannis Prism Red that's a short print. It is quite the card, and personally, I'd rather have the Giannis. But let us know in the chat if you do have some thoughts on the Giannis versus the John Morant. The Giannis is not numbered, if you are wondering. Our next debate comes with some Joe Burrow action. Of course, Joe Burrow playing in the Super Bowl this upcoming weekend. We've got a 1-of-1. This is his Phoenix Rising rookie. That is a gold vinyl patch auto. With a tag, the laundry tag, versus his Contenders auto PSA 1010 with the 10 autograph. So for the exact same amount. Nate, I'm not really sure about you, but I was not really expecting this from the sale for the exact same amount. Of course, it's Phoenix, but $8,400 on the nose.
It's must be a Phoenix insert, right? Rising rookie insert.
Yeah, I'm assuming it's not like the normal patch autograph, right?
But there's no chance you'd get me to spend the same amount of money on a base Contenders rookie. I know Contenders is a big thing in football, yada, yada, yada. But that's a 1-of-1.
Nate, I'm taking the Contenders. Call me crazy. I know it's a 1-of-1.
Really?
I'm taking the Contenders. Yeah, I mean, you're talking Tom Brady Contenders, the biggest football card ever made. I want the
yeah, but that's a whole different era. That's like the only thing. That's like the only thing they had back then. I mean, they had a ton of cards, but
I get it. But I also think that Burrow just is one of a bunch of different 1-of-1s from 2020.
That's fair. But how many Contenders on card autos are there?
Yeah, no, I get you. I'm not like, I guess, super passionate about one way or another, but I would take the Contenders personally. On the right side here, we've got an SGC 910 of a 2017 Topps Now. That is a Judge MLB All-Star Game starter rookie auto number out of 99 on card from Topps Now versus his debut ticket PSA 9 full ticket. 156 for the on-card auto, 126 for the ticket. I know nothing about the ticket market, but pretty close in value there for an auto versus the ticket. Nate, what do you think?
Neither of them really does it for me, so I'm going to sit this one out.
He's going to sit this one out. It's baseball, but he's like, eh.
It's Aaron Judge. It's Aaron Judge.
That's a bigger problem. Shout out Vincent. And then our last, oops, well, it's not going. Oh, there we go. Our last two debates for tonight for the PWCC weekly auction. We've got the Curry Topps Chrome rookie number of 999 PSA 9, sold for $15K, versus the exquisite rookie auto numbered out 225 BGS 9 that sold for $12,600. Someone on Instagram did point out that this has a BGS 9 autograph. As you can tell, it's a little smudge there at the top. Nate, did you see it as a BGS 9? I didn't check.
I did not. I
Yeah,
did not check either.
or at least someone said that they think it was a BGS 9.
I mean,
autograph.
even if it is,
I agree.
Okay.
Someone's like, well, it's the Davidson jersey. And I was like, well, he's got a Haynes t-shirt on in the other picture. So
Yeah.
I would way rather have the on-card rookie auto for $2,000 some dollars less for sure. And then on the right side, I can't believe this one's sold for the exact same amount. Pele, the Editor Aquarella, this is a SGC Authentic, sold for $3,120 versus the Ronaldo R9 sticker BGS 9.5. I'm not super sure how that had 9.5 centering on that. Do you see it, the top to bottom there?
Mm-hmm.
But it's sold for $3,120 also. And when we post this debate, they were the exact same amount, probably in like the $500 range pre the auction ending, and they sold for the exact same amount a week later. But yeah, that was the PWCC weekly auction number 3. We were live bidding last night, and we will be upcoming on Sunday. I believe that they're doing it on the Super Bowl. We'll see how that goes, but we'll for sure have the game on while we're bidding on it, obviously, starting at 9:45 p.m. Eastern Time, the Flip Quest 2022. But we've got a super packed episode today, so we're just going to keep chugging along through the episode because there are some other things to discuss. Who out there saw this sale? So the Jason Dominguez Superfractor Auto 1/1 PSA 10. If you remember, we talked about this card when it got pulled. Well, now it's sold. It sold through Golden Auctions on Saturday night for $474,000. That is one of the craziest sales I've ever seen since being in sports cards, which is a long time. So for the chat out there, what do you think of this sale? You know, we got $474K on this card, but this guy is yet to play above A-ball. He is now ranked the 89th prospect via Baseball America. And if he was not on the Yankees and wasn't nicknamed the Martian, Nate, how much would this card be selling for?
My guess, $5,000, maybe $6,000.
That's impossible. There's no way it's only $5,000 to $6,000.
Dude, if he wasn't on the Yankees and he was just the number one overall recruit and not have all the hype around him, if he was on the Diamondbacks and was the number one overall international signee from a couple years ago, there's no way this card is worth more than like $6,000.
Oh, I would say it's like $20K probably. You know how much money people spend on 1/1 Superfractor autos?
Yeah, that's fair. But he will not be the next Trout.
Zachary says his friend says he's supposed to be the next Trout. Nate dismisses that quickly.
Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts and none of them are good.
What's up, Magic? How we doing? We've got 2 other sales that went down. We're calling this the Prospect Gold Rush because an immaculate 1/1 NFL Shield auto of Joe Burrow sold for $534,000, and that same night, the Zion Williamson 9.510 NTRPA number 99 sold for $594K, which is crazy that card sold for more than the Burrow, more than the Dominguez. Because I will say this, although this Dominguez sale is crazy, Nate and I have talked. And if he does have just an insane season, let's say, this thing is probably doubling by the end of the season. If he can, I guess, play up to the hype that was out there, this Zion feels like paying an all-time high at an all-time low perception of what's going on with him and his future. We'll have more to talk about with this card later in the show. But here's where it gets fun because Nate and I both went through and put together some little things on what we just saw. So let's go, Nate. Let's hear it.
All right, so there's 2 slides here, and you'll notice a bunch of big cards, a bunch of well-known cards, and you'll kind of get the picture here. So we've got the Mantle PSA 1.5, the Kobe Topps Chrome Rookie BGS 10, the Verstappen Dynasty out of 10, the Hamilton PSA 9 Sapphire Gold number to 50, the Mbappe Rookie Orange number 25 PSA 9, the Holland BGS 8 Sapphire number to 25, the Vlad Guerrero Jr. Orange Wave Auto PSA 10.
Yep, 10.
Number to 25. The Gretzky PSA 8 O-Pee-Chee, not Topps, O-Pee-Chee. The Acuna number to 25 BGS 9.5 Orange Auto. The Mike Trout Refractor Auto number to 500 BGS 9.5. The Mahomes number to 25 Tie-Dye XRC PSA 10. The BGS 9 Tom Brady Contenders Auto. The X-Fractor LeBron number to 220 whatever that is, PSA 8.5, and then the SGC 9.5 Michael Jordan. And then if you go to the next slide, you also have a middle bar here, and you've got the Tiger Woods SB Authentic numbered to 900 BGS 9.5, the Future Watch Sidney Crosby Rookie Auto numbered to 999, right?
PSA 10.
PSA 10, the Mega Cracks Messi BGS 9, a Precious Metal Gems blue number to 50 PSA 8 from 2013. So an actual rookie, Giannis. Sometimes, you get Precious Metal Gems of random dudes from random years, but this is a legit rookie. The Herbert number to 25 playoff ticket or whatever, or championship ticket.
Yeah, 25.
BGS 9.5. The Soto Purple Auto numbered to 250 PSA 10, and then a 2015-2016 Flawless Patch Auto numbered to 20 just for kicks and giggles because I wanted to get Ronaldo in there. And all of these cards combined have sold since January 1st. So a month basically, since it's February 7th right now. All of these cards since January 1st, and the grand total is $578,000.
No way. Are you serious?
You could have bought every single one of these cards and pocketed another $16,000 to maybe grade the Ronaldo and maybe grade the Verstappen or bump a couple grades here or there by sending them to SGC. I don't know. But you could have bought every single one of these cards in the last month and a half or a month and a week instead of buying one single Zion.
Or you could have just put in a little bit more money and gotten all those versus.
You could have put in another $100,000 and bought all those cards instead of the Jason Dominguez.
What you have to imagine, someone that spends $474K on a card, especially if Jason Dominguez, could go out and pick up all these for another.
I mean, look at that. You have the Mantle, right? You've got the Tiger and the Sidney Crosby. You've got all the sports there. I tried to get like every big sport there. But look how many out of 25s you've got. You've got out of 25 of Mbappe. You've got out of 25 of Holland. You've gotten out of 25 of Acuna, and out of 25 of Mahomes, out of 20 of Ronaldo, out of 25 of Vlad.
It's crazy. That's crazy. And you have some, Gretzky rookie in there, Brady Contenders rookie auto. That's nuts. Good research, Nate. I like that. I like it. I also did my own little thing here, and I put together this right here, which is Hank Aaron Topps rookie PSA 9. This is a beautiful copy. I mean, just unbelievable. 2003 exquisite limited logos LeBron James auto BGS 9.510 patch auto, and then the Jackie Robinson rookie PSA 8. Now I don't remember exactly in my head how much these things sold for, but I do know what they all sold between like $475K and $550K. So you could have bought each of them. You could have bought these three cards here on the screen, or you could have bought these three cards on the screen: Zion, Joe Burrow, and Dominguez. And I'd actually venture to guess you'd have a little bit more money left over with these three, because I think that these three sold for less than 1.5 million combined, which is just insane to think that you could have some of the finest copies of Hank Aaron and Jackie Robinson rookies, and then LeBron limited logos patch auto for the same amount. Also, this LeBron sold for about 100K less than the Zion. if you want to compare like RPAs, is that insane, Nate?
Wait, 100K less than the Zion brings it up to the cost of the Dominguez, or brings it down to the cost of the Dominguez.
Pretty much, you could have had that or the Dominguez. Yeah,
that's insane.
Basically, so yeah, it is very crazy, very very crazy. What you're looking at right now here on the screen, this is our weekly slab number 9. And the reason why this is on the screen is because in the weekly slab number 9, half of the episode was about the potential new number 2 grading company out in the market. And, we have done a lot of our own research. We've done a lot of our own experiences with this. We've been submitting different cards to SGC for the cheap service level, getting them back in quick time, buying these cards at shows, buying really cool and interesting cards like Allen Iverson star dates. I also went and picked up, like, let's just say, for example, LeBron EX Fleer rookie this weekend. Really interesting raw cards, and using the cheap service level, using the quick turnaround times, and seeing what happens. And we've had great experience. And really everything that prompted this all coming more in a social environment, meaning discussions through Instagram, YouTube, and out here on YouTube Live with all of you. And I just want to thank everyone once again for coming. Is this post that got put up by GemRate back at the end or beginning of February. This was a recap of the total items graded in January by PSA, SGC, and Beckett. The PSA obviously graded an insane amount of cards. They are the biggest company. They are the top grading company when it comes to pulling values on gem mint grades. There's really just no debating that at all. And they graded 775,000 cards in January, or items. And SGC grade 81,000 versus Beckett, which graded 61,000, which is a huge discrepancy. Like Nate said, for when you get under 100,000 cards that are graded in a month, the 20K difference is massive. Like, that's no small peanuts there. This prompted a lot of discussion just between Nate and I ourselves, but more so want to bring this to light with everyone on the live stream to get everyone's thoughts as we walk through this episode. But more than just on the live stream, we posted this huge story blast this morning. Where Peter, the CEO, is joining us tonight, and because of that, I want to go through and look up as much data as possible on what's happened to SGC cards and values and turnaround times and cost of grading over the last year, and really see what the difference is today. So I explained it right here, like, hey, everyone, there's a lot of chatter about the number 2 sports card grading company. Let's see what happens with the community. I literally was just letting the community vote on these polls. It was open discussion to see what happens with what people think about the perception of SGC versus BGS, say February 7th, 2021. Sorry, 2022. 2022.
Classic Aaron doesn't know what year it is.
I know. So all the sales data here is via Card Ladder. All the sales histories combined between like 14, 15 different data sources over the past 15 years. But all these sales did happen within the last like 2 weeks at the most. And I did try to dig up as many examples as I could from different sports, different years, different brands. I was trying to find ones with BGS also selling for more than SGC, just to have it try to be as unbiased as possible. So,
hey,
yeah, Nate,
before you get really into it, I just want to bring up this one comment because it goes with the last thing we covered from Jennifer. And she said, people at this monetary level want what other people don't have, though. And that's a very good take, because the Zion was the only BGS 9.5 out there. Obviously, the Jason Dominguez is the only 101 out there. And I guess, yeah, when you have $500,000 you can blow on a card, it's not about getting the most value out of it. Probably it's about bragging. And she has a good point.
C2C sports cards, the exact same thing. And I get that too. All right, but back to this, because Nate did have to give me a brief interruption, but that's okay. That's okay. We want to bring those audience comments as always. And what's up, Jeremy Lee, by the way, Sports Card Live in the chat. He said that's a great perspective based on what Nate put out there. And Nate, I actually love what you did there. I really want to turn that into an Instagram post for tomorrow. But we're gonna get into this because I've got about 10 minutes right now. I'm gonna put myself at 5:35 Central Time to get on and talk to Peter. Let's start walking through it. So this is just gonna be exactly what came from the story post as of 4 p.m. Central Time. This was the voting. So I brought different examples of SGC 10 gem mints, compared them to BGS 9.5 gem mints, took the last sale of each, and just asked people to vote. Which card do you think is worth more? The first slide right here on the left is what people saw first. It was 36% vote for SGC 10, 64% for 9.5. And then I said, which card do you think is in better condition? It was 48% for the SGC 10 gem mint, 52% for the BGS 9.5 gem mint. So more votes came for SGC and what was a better condition card. And then as for the actual sales history, I updated this later in the story post, so people didn't see this at the time of voting or at the time of voting for any of the other cards in today's discussion. But the BGS 9.5 sold for $3,000 on January 30th, and the SGC 10 sold for $2,760 on February 6th. Now, this is the 1998 Fleer electrifying Michael Jordan. I should have made that clear. that this is one of the cards I brought in from the 90s because I want to try to get cards from different eras. So this was our first example. Then we have the second example. I brought in a really ultra modern card. This is a 2019 Prism rookie penmanship Ja Morant sticker rookie auto. The SGC 1010 or the SGC 10 got 35% of the votes for which card do you think is worth more versus 65% BGS 9.5, 48% for what think that it's in better condition than the BGS 9.5, so less than 50% again. Well, actually, less than 50%. Oh, it's actually the same exact voting. Excuse me. It's just all over the place there. It's exact same voting for the Ja Morant versus the MJ. But when you look at the sales values, it's actually the exact same. $12.25 on February 6th on auction for the SGC 10. $12.25 on January 31st for the BGS 9.5 Ja Morant Prism Auto. So this is, way more modern card here, 2019. But this is also before like 2020, 2021 cards because Beckett shut down a ton of their services in 2021. So this is before that. So it would have been cheaper, most likely, to grade this Ja Morant at a point in time with BGS than you can now. Next up is a 2000. This is the UD graded Brady rookie number out of 1325. So the voting went 43% thought that the SGC 10 would be worth more. 57% thought that the BGS 9.5 would be worth more. That's with no subgrades. But when it came to what do people think is the better condition card, 57% of the votes said the Brady, and 43% said the BGS 9.5 Brady with no subs. So I guess I don't know if it's no subgrades that urge people to vote for the Brady for the better condition card. But when you look at the sales, it was $7,200. This was last night in the PWCC weekly auction number 3 for the Brady SGC 10 versus the Brady no subs 9.5. Sold for $59.86 on January 23rd. Now, that was 2 weeks ago, and that was before Brady retired. But according to the card ladder estimate, that Brady will be worth around $6,700 today based on his market growing since his retirement, which still isn't at $7,200, but it's very, very close. So you can almost call it even after the retirement if this card did sell again, in essence. Now, this time we got another ultra modern card here. This is a 2020 Bowman Chrome Mega Box Auto, Jason Dominguez on card auto. Everyone loves Jason Dominguez right now for, I guess, one reason or another. But SGC 10, people thought that was 35% or 35% of the people thought they'd be worth more than the BGS 9.5, but 51% thought that was in better condition than the 9.5. And this 9.5 has true gem 9.5 all around subgrades too, so that's interesting. And the SGC 10 sold for $1,000, and then the BGS 9.5 sold for $960 2 weeks apart. All right, now we got Brady. I'm just going to start to go through this a little bit quicker. This is a 2020 Prism Silver SGC 10. 42% thought that was worth more. 58% thought the 9.5 was, but 58% thought that the SGC 10 Gem Mint was a better condition card versus 42% thought that the 9.5 was a better condition card. Now, the Brady 9.5 did have 9 centering, so that's probably something that maybe swayed the vote. Because the subgrades from BGS seem to really, tell people what they should be paying for the card because they think it really does mean something. And then the SGC 10 sold for $605 versus the BGS 9.5 that sold for $675. So that SGC 10 Brady is a little lower there. Now, Anthony Edwards, 40% thought that the SGC 10 would be worth more. 60% thought that the Anthony Edwards 2020 Prism Silver, that's the card we're looking at here, the 9.5 would be worth more. But once again, 60% thought that the SGC 10 was in better condition versus the BGS 9.5. There's 40%. That one did have 9 centering also. And the SGC 10 sold for $685 on February 5th, while the 9.5 sold for $605 on February 3rd, so higher for the SGC 10. This one is one of the most interesting ones to me. It's the Cal McCarr. I think that's how it's pronounced. He's a defender for the Avalanche. He's amazing. 2019 Young Guns rookie, SGC 10, 38% of the votes thought they'd be worth more. Versus 62% for BGS 9.5. 56% though thought that it was in better condition versus the true gem that people thought 44% that was in better condition. That one just is interesting to me that is so different. And it is a true gem. It's not like that they had like 9 centering like the Prism Silver Anthony Edwards. Now the sales values for this one is pretty staggering. February 6th, $627 on an eBay best offer for the SGC 10. The last 2 BGS 9.5s, both a best offer and an auction, average out to be $478. Moving on to this is an SGC 9.5 versus BGS 9.5. I did want to throw one of these in there just to see how people voted. Which card do you think is worth more? SGC 9.5 at 22% of the votes versus the BGS 9.5, which had 78. So SGC 9.5 is a mint plus grade. It's not classified as a gem mint grade. It's a different grading scale than Beckett. And then the BGS 9.5 is a gem mint card. And then for the which card do you think is in better condition, 30% said SGC 9.5 mint plus versus BGS 9.5 gem mint for 70%. But if you look at the sales values, the last 9.5 SGC sold for $1,300, the last SGC 10 sold for $2,250, and then the last BGS 9.5 sold for $1,363 on average between two sales. Took like a higher one and a lower one. And there were multiple SGC 9.5s that sold recently for $1,300 or $1,250 to $1,300. So that wasn't just like one really high sale. This one's super interesting to me for sure. There's a lot of these floating out there. Obviously, the update trouts, there's like 5,000 PSA 10. So this is a pretty common card. And then I want to get one super high-end sale in here. So I have the flawless SGC 10 patch auto horizontal of Luca number 25 versus the BGS 9.5. 32% of the votes thought that the SGC 10 is worth more than BGS 9.5. But when it comes to which card is in better condition, 49% voted for SGC 10 gem mint versus 51% for BGS 9.5. So that really tightened up there. And this is to be known is that these two sales were happened pretty far apart because the card's so rare. It's hard to find sales that happen super close to each other. So the SGC 10 sold for $33,600 on November 20th, while the BGS 9.5 sold for $34,200 on January 23rd. Hard to really tell how Luca's high-end market has moved since then. Card Ladder estimate says that it might have lost like $800 since then, the SGC 10 since November 20th. But realistically, these things are pretty much the same sales values here. And both those sold through PWCC Premier. Now, at the end, that was all 12 different examples. I summed it up, and I said, if you owned all of these cards raw right now, here's your option on grading them, the cost, and the turnaround time. So per SGC website is $30 per card directly if you submit through the website, and it says right there it's 20 to 25 business day turnaround. If you go on the BGS website, it takes a while to get to even where you can submit or figure out how much it is. But it's $100 per card for no subgrades, $150 for subgrades. And through their website, it says that, well, it doesn't even give you what the turnaround time is. It's unknown. So you're pretty much sending in $100 to $150, not really knowing how long it'll take or when you'll get your cards back. SGC to grade all 10 cards is $300, while grading all 10 cards with BGS is either $1,000 for no subgrades or $1,500 for subgrades. Now, on the right here, here's the total market value of all the cards I just showed you all before this. This sums it all up, and it includes the Trout SGC 10 value because we're comparing the total value of the SGC 10s versus the BGS 9.5. So it's $50,552 total for the SGC 10s versus the BGS 9.5s is $49,042. So this is obviously pretty close. I mean, it's like $1,500 away. That's nothing like insane when it's a $50,000 total value. But it shows a lot when the total cost to grade is $300 versus with BGS with subgrades is $1,500. If you do it without subgrades for $1,000, you're probably losing a lot of value off that $49,000 if you do it all without subgrades. And as I said, the turnaround times are unknown with BGS in 20-25 days with SGC. Now, I want to say before, actually, I'll go through this and then I'll talk after that. Where would you rather send all, and then I asked the audience, where would you rather send all 10 of those cards to get graded, knowing the market value and cost of grading? 64% chose SGC, 36% chose BGS. Which card grading company is doing a better job putting the collector first and being transparent? 79% for SGC and 21% for BGS. So that was one of the furthest away polls of every single question we asked. This was actually the widest spread. Was asking which company do you think is putting the collector first and do you think is being transparent? I will say, just for everyone to know, there was around 1,000 sample size in just about every single one of these polls, so it wasn't like a couple hundred. It was at least 1,000 on pretty much all of these. So 79% SGC, 21% BGS. And the next question was, which card grading company, as of today, February 7th, 2022, is the number 2 in the sports card industry? 54% said SGC, 46% said BGS. Which card grading company will be number 2 at the end of 2022? More people voted for SGC than the previous question, so 64% for SGC versus 36% for BGS. Now, before moving on to some of these DMs I received, I just want to say that the biggest thing about this is that, yeah, the market values are pretty close, right? Like the SGC 10 versus BGS 9.5 market values are extremely close. And a lot of people would say, well, that's pretty much should show it's 50-50 right now, split on what's the number 2 grading company, BGS or SGC. My response is that if we were sitting here 2 years ago and we were doing SlabStox 2 years ago and we try to do this live stream, it would be literally impossible to do. you would never, ever, ever find these sales that were this close together. And 2 years later now, we are finding these sales, and not just a few sales. It's a lot of sales. Like, I was looking at all sales, $500 and up, of SGC 10 graded cards in the last week, and is mirroring all of them to the BGS 9.5 sales I could recently that had cards were selling recently. It's pretty difficult to actually even find BGS 9.5s that were outselling SGC 10s. Like, I was trying to find more. And it is quite the interesting story here. I'm not going to read through all these. I'm just going to sum them up because there's a lot of different DMs I received off of our stories. Some people are talking about how BGS hasn't changed with their prices, the mysterious turnaround times for years. And I tend to agree that a lot of people for even years now, I mean, this is not just coming recently with us having a partnership with SGC. I'll make it very clear that as soon, if you listen to us back a year ago, I was most likely at this time saying the exact same things about BGS. They're not doing anything different. They're not helping out the consumer. They're not communicating with the customers. They're not talking about their turnaround times. They're not talking about what they're doing to better their turnaround times or clear through the backlog. And I'm saying the same things a year later now. So this is what happens. You start to get these sale values that are getting really close to each other. And then we'll just keep moving through here. This is my guy Darbs. He was talking about how if companies like BGS don't listen to collectors, they will be replaced. And he doesn't see any bias in these polls. It's just people who love the hobby. I think he's talking about us, and see how SGC deserves credit for how they handled PSA closing and took advantage of that. Props to them too, and to you guys, which is true. That is what I saw, is how SGC handled the backlog from how they handled the backlog as excuse me, I just messed up. How they're handling when PSA had the backlog and what they're doing in put in new service times and new values and all that stuff to really help with the collector. And this is the one that I do want to respond to really quick, is that right here. It says, this doesn't seem really fair. Compare SGC 9.5s to BGS 9.5s. It's really hard to get an SGC 10. So the reason why we were comparing SGC 10s to BGS 9.5s is because that is the technical grade, the gem mint from each company. Now, when it comes to what the pop report is and the percent that you can get an SGC 10 versus an SGC 9.5 or a BGS 9.5 versus a BGS 9 versus a BGS 10, that's a much greater discussion. But to me, to answer this really quickly, is that if you get a BGS 9 versus a BGS 9.5, that is a huge difference when you're talking about comparing that to an SGC 10 value. You have an extra tier there to get an SGC 9.5 with the Mint Plus, and they do sell pretty well. We've had good experience with that. And that is my only argument to that, is that you do have the extra grade there with the SGC 9.5 and the SGC 10 gem mint. I mean, we've gotten them on cards. It's not like they're impossible to get. It's not the same as getting a BGS 10 pristine, just as it's not the same getting an SGC 10 pristine gold label. I want to bring up a couple examples of ours because, like I said, I mean, I know that a lot of people out there will say, well, you guys are partners with SGC or partners with PWCC, this and that. And my response is always the same thing. We make partnerships based off of what we believe in and what we see work for us, and that we want to bring value to our community. The only way to really build this thing up for everyone to keep on having hobby content to enjoy is for us to find these really good partnerships that we believe in and build on them. And that's what we've been doing. And that's what, I believe in. And I truly do believe in what we've been able to do between SGC and PWCC. I bought this John Morant on the right here, this orange ice. I bought for $125, $150 at a card show in Wisconsin in November. I probably played pretty strong on it too because I thought it looked pretty good for grading at the time. I sent it to SGC. It got 9.5. I sent it to PWCC. It sold on the auction on January 30th for $420. The most recent PSA 9 sold for $270. The most recent BGS 9 sold on December 29th, 2021 for $235. Like, that right there is exactly what I'm talking about. Same with the Allen Iverson. I bought this in Vegas in October. Sent to SGC for $30, got back in probably like 20 business days. Sold for $384 on January 23rd through the PWCC weekly auction. The last PSA 9 sold for $295 on December 28th. So this sold for $100 more. I'm not seeing that all SGC 9s sell for more than PSA 9s. That's not true. PSA 9s generally outsell SGC 9s. But for us at work for this one, I'm assuming because it's a more rare card. And the BGS 9 last sold for $280. So that's just an example of that we had. But exactly. And then this last one I want to pull up is just a flip side example, right? SGC 8.5. We graded this one. I bought this in Vegas too for like $50. Paid $30 to grade it. Sold for $112 through PWCC as a SGC 8.5. And the PSA 8 sold for about $152. So that's a flip side example where, like, yeah, the PSA 8, it does outsell SGC when it gets to those lower graded ones, like I said, PSN over SGC 9. It just all depends. I mean, it all depends on the cards. Now, before I'm going to welcome in Peter here really quick. I just want to give a quick shout out is that this week we will be live on Whatnot Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern time. I'll be live and Nate will be live on Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern time. Just want to let people know who don't know our new schedule yet for breaking. It does go down on at Whatnot, or that's on Instagram, but the Whatnot app. And we've been having a super fun time. They're building a really great soccer community. So if you are a soccer card fan, would recommend joining because it's a super fun time.
Hey,
yeah, go ahead, Nate.
I'd like to congratulate you on sticking to your 5:35.
Say 7 minutes isn't too bad. 7 minutes isn't too bad over. I noticed that, but there was a lot to get there, man. Hey, you would have taken like 50 minutes, so you know that too. You know that.
Nope. Nobody can prove that.
All right. Well, here we go. So now this lands us, after all that is being said, this lands us at bringing SGC, bringing Peter from SGC into the show, because today SGC put up a post about the BGS 9.5 Zion we talked about earlier that sold for $594K. That thing actually previously was an SGC 9.5 Min Plus with a 10 auto. And I'm going to bring Peter in, just throw him in the fire right away because I know he's that type of guy. But Peter, welcome to the show, man. I know you can't see my face moving, but I can see you. And thank you so much for being here tonight.
Anytime, Aaron, anytime. Even 7 minutes late is okay.
Good. Well, I apologize again for being a little tardy, but I'm really happy you're here. I know the audience is happy that you're here, or at least I think that a lot of people are ready to at least hear from you. I don't know how many people want to hear from you, but I'm excited to have them hear from you is the thing. Because I've been a huge fan of what you all have been doing. I think, and here's the other thing too, for people to know, and Peter knows this too. A year ago at this time when PSA shut down the stuff, shut down their grading, and SGC, I know Peter did this for specific reasons, but they doubled their price to kind of curb some demand because they wanted to be able to deal with it, not deal with the backlog. I was like, come on, dude, like this is the time to really capture all demand. Well, ever since that point, that I thought those things, I watched them for like 8 straight months. And the decisions that Peter made for SGC have been incredible. And I just want to give huge props to Peter on what he's been able to accomplish. Well, not just him, but the SGC team too. Because the last year, I haven't, I said this in last week's Weekly Slab, I haven't seen a company innovate more and do more for the collector than SGC. And that's just straight from the heart right there. I'm not just saying that just to say it. So Peter, welcome, and just tell everyone right now, what's up with this SGC 9.5 Zion here?
Yeah, first off, I want to just clarify one thing, and some of our supporters that may be watching may know this. We did not double prices. We tripled prices. And the common misconception, guys, when you don't have kind of a direct access to what it's like kind of behind this line, a common misconception, which was very hard to see when we chose to make that decision, was, oh, this is a money grab. They want to make more money. PSA's closed, so if they triple their price, they'll triple their profits. Guys, we received no cards that month. That was all according to plan, because if we let the cards come in, we would have been backlogged for, it could have been years, based on the hype and the chaotic nature of the situation. So I just want to clarify that we actually jacked it higher, but with the intention to actually essentially close down for a month, ramp up capacity to a point where we knew for a fact that when we were ready to open the doors, we could actually treat people with respect and give them a service that they're paying for, and not kind of operate as some kind of bait and switch scheme where, a backlog is giant and we end up mistreating everyone. Excuse me. So now, speaking about this Zion, this was one, honestly, some of SGC's Instagram posts or some statements we make are really easy. They're kind of no-brainers to go out there and do. And this was not that. This took a lot of thought, and we really didn't know what the reception would be when we came out with this information. First off, just to give everyone at home a little backstory of this card in particular. So SGC obviously grades many thousands of cards on a daily basis, and it is our marketing team's responsibilities to pick out some of those really awesome cards, whether they're super high grade, very valuable, very rare, have a unique story to kind of showcase on our social medias. When this Zion Williamson came in here, serial number 60 of 99, we were thrilled to have it. Obviously, such an impressive card, especially when Zion's weight wasn't more out of control than my own. Anyway, when that card came in, I actually held that card. I saw that card. I was in the grading room while it was being evaluated. And I have to be honest with everyone, the debate at hand with our graders was, is the card good enough for a 10? It is that good. It is a beautiful high grade example, obviously, of a traditionally very tough card out of a set like NT, and that blue border at the bottom doesn't do you any favors. The way Panini chooses to package those super valuable cards in that little box doesn't do you any favors there as far as grade goes. So anyway, we saw the card. We were thrilled to receive it. We noticed off the bat that it was in incredible condition. Our marketing team had taken a picture, which you're seeing right now on the screen, of the card. And we were so eager to put it out. We had this great plan. We said, you know what, guys, the day that he comes back from injury, we're going to put this out. Everyone will be pretty amped to see such a great card. And what ended up happening is Zion never came back from injury. And upon scrolling through Instagram one day, I was at home and I see Golden Auctions posted the Zion card. And my heart kind of sunk. And I said, that looks like a familiar card. And it's not the first time, guys, that an ultra modern, super high-end card has been crossed out of an SGC holder. And it became very evident that that's what took place here. I spent a few hours being really bummed out about it because I was thrilled to make that post and kind of, tout the impressive nature of a card like that and the progress that our brand has made, having the ability to grade a card of that magnitude. And what we realized is, probably not best to post it now while it's in golden. But after the card sold, it made such headlines because it broke records, even in the midst, like you alluded to, Aaron, of this not so great news about Zion and this trend that seems to be kind of plaguing this guy. But clearly, the card market is still very healthy with a $594,000 sale. But we just really wanted to educate the public on something, and that's that. If you paid $594,000, I really hope that even if you're not a fan of SGC, you'd pay something close to that for the card in an SGC holder. And I understand as a collector myself that there are collectors that just prefer the Beckett slab. They like the subgrades, or they like the label or the holder or the whatever it may be. But the thing that I want to make sure is that at the very least, the public is educated about grading and the nature of grading. It's not my job to say what should sell for what, who should sell for more. It's my job to offer my customers as I guess, enjoyable and I guess honorable a grading experience as possible while being transparent. And I felt that we had to come out and just point out the fact that for anyone doubting the validity of SGC's grading abilities on ultra modern high-end cards, it's just not that hard when it comes to grading ultra modern high end as it is grading vintage high end, believe me. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of paint the picture for the audience and for any, I guess, doubters out there that for whatever reason don't feel that our 20-year veteran graders have the ability to look at a National Treasures card and evaluate it on its condition. You're just wrong. Now, that doesn't mean I'm telling you what to pay what, but it's my job just to kind of educate everyone if they choose to listen, I guess. But that's why I wanted to come on. So
perfect.
There's a nice ramble.
Perfect. I have a few things to go through comment wise on that post, but I want to bring up some comments as we get them in the live stream because I know that people are here to ask you questions at the same time. So kind of do some audience questions, other questions throughout this show. But this is a good one. You talk to us as much as you can, or as little as you can, I guess, because you just mentioned 20-year grading experience. They know what they're doing. Will says, Peter, how do you train new graders? This is such an important topic. Obviously, this is me talking because of how many graders PSA and SGC both need to hire to meet the demand. Will says, obviously time intensive, but best way to me would have someone overread for first 500 1,000 cards for learning/feedback. Not really sure what that meant, but I guess the question, how do you train new graders?
Yeah, I know exactly what he means, actually. I believe that individual, first off, thanks for tuning in the question. I think that individual is referring to a possible process where, imagine, Aaron, I would grade a stack of cards. I would give those cards to you with no grades on those cards. You would then grade them. We'd kind of compare results, see where your discrepancies lie. And that's what we know we have to kind of fill in from a training point of view. He's actually not far off with that process, although it is a multi-step process. That little training tool being one of the many tools in our, I guess you'd say, tool belt. So when training graders, guys, the way that SGC does it, and this is a very important fact, I constantly compare us to the Tampa Bay Devil Rays. And the reason is because we have the capabilities. We're always in the World Series. The quality's there, but we don't kind of, we grow from within. We train our own people. And some of those people come in a little ahead of the game. For example, Aaron, if you were Nate, entered if I had interviewed you and you wanted a job working at SGC, I'd kind of be licking my chops because, man, you guys have a lot of knowledge, a lot of experience in the hobby that I can build upon. But it's not always like that. So what we do is the education on cards, literally, I mean it, literally starts from the time you are in your interview to the time you are promoted to the head grader of SGC. Here's the way it kind of works. If an employee shines in their department and seems to take a liking to cards, because if they don't, this isn't going to work. The worst graders are the graders who don't want to be grading. So if the employees take a real liking to not only the company and being a part of it, but also the cards, the industry, they oftentimes will get moved somewhere that's even more card intensive, that kind of stretches them further and allows them to dive deeper in. In other words, if we see that they're building, let's say through single A, double A, and triple A, that's when they'll get the call up. However, by no means are they just assigning grades upon entering our grading room. What happens is one of our head graders, and I believe the head grader with the least experience at SGC, I think he's been here 9 or 10 years. So these guys really know what they're doing. And that's kind of exactly what happens. Remember, they come into the grading room with a very wide array of knowledge on cards. Most of our graders don't enter our facility with no card knowledge. But again, the way that it works is they enter there, they're working directly with the head grader. And that's actually a very similar process to what happens to kind of feel out their abilities, what they're missing, what they're overlooking. If, a lot of the time you'll notice someone is great at spotting a card that's off center with 70-30 centering, but they just destroy the card. They're too tight in one aspect, but too loose on another. The bottom line is even after a grader's been training for months and months and months, those cards still don't go unchecked out of our building, which is why you really don't see many grading disasters from SGC, and our 10s look like 10s. And there's a reason the 9.5 is there, because there's a lot of room sometimes between a mint card and a gem mint card. So, the education never stops is my point. And we kind of invest in our graders very early on, far before we ever even can say if they'll end up in the grading room. But it's just about teaching. We have some really, really good teachers here. And luckily, those people are very passionate about cards and the quality of the grades. They kind of help build this place. So they take a lot of pride in passing that torch on to the next generation of SGC graders.
I love it. I love it. I'm going to bring up another audience question because I think this is a very good question here. I think it affects a lot of people more than just the Q's guy. I want to know if they will lower prices back down to $20. Speaking about SGC, I'm scared to submit right now because I think they might lower it. Let him know, or let him or her know what the plan is. Yeah, I mean, the plan, guys, basically, I'm trying to build our capabilities so that I can just keep making you guys happy. I've said it before. This is not a company that's just holding on for dear life because we're, making a few dollars of profit a day. We are comfortable, guys. You have truly changed the lives of a lot of our employees that so much deserved it. They really worked so hard to build this thing up. And I guess what I'm trying to say is if I can lower price, I know it might sound like, I don't know, it might sound like baloney, but it's just not. If I can lower price, guys, I will. The issue is we actually set a record today for the most cards submitted to SGC on a single day. My point is if I were to lower the prices down to 20, I can promise you that would send the inflow just skyrocketing to a level where it's almost like, well, yeah, now you're paying, less per card, but the level of service you're going to be receiving is just infinitely worse. And that's not what we're in the business of doing. I do want to remind everyone, though, that for someone who's a little more, focused on the cost side of things, maybe they're either a flipper or everyone just wants to save money, obviously, we do have some authorized dealers, and those guys are great. I mean, we've worked with them for a while now. They're all very trusted, and you're working with a great company in SGC where if anything ever happened, we don't kind of have our people holding the bag. It just doesn't happen here. So I want to remind everyone that those bulk rates do apply, but at the same time, I will be lowering price when I can grow our capacity to a level that exceeds the amount of cards that I just received today, which was a record day, which is great, but also is hard at the same time. That's awesome. Hey, congrats on that to you and the whole team. 4x4 Rubicon. Hello, please ask
Hey,
Peter if SGC is accepting walk-ins. I'm in Miami and want to grade about 100 of my PC cards and want to avoid having them shipped. Thank you.
Yeah, I could tell you stories, Aaron, from when I was first hired by SGC. If someone walked in our door, I mean, we would just roll out the red carpet and learn their name, and almost like the whole team would come out and thank them for their support. Unfortunately, now we have just grown so big, and the footprint of SGC is just so much wider than we could have ever dreamed. And I think in lieu of that, we have COVID. There's a lot of issues that just make the walk-in service unavailable right now. The thing to remember about SGC, guys, is that when you send your cards to us, we open them that day, maybe the next day if it was a really, really busy day. But there's just no funny business. There's no long delays. I know it almost seems counterintuitive because you may be literally right down the street and you can't just come by, but there is a reason for that, and it's basically to keep our employees doing what they're paid to do, which is essentially to process the cards rather than to be taken away from that. And it is kind of an all hands on deck operation. And I'd be lying if I said we have a whole lot of space in our office to sit customers down and kind of wine and dine them, because we have just exploded. And as you can imagine, the operation takes up, I would say, pretty close to 99% of our office space.
Nate, it sounded like you had something to say.
Well, actually, it was just a tidbit for you. Can you adjust this so that we are all? Do you need this post up still, or can we get Peter?
I do. On the
screen?
I do need it up. We're about to go on to something else here. I just want to bring up some more audience comments.
Okay.
It's there for.
I just want to say too, Aaron. I want to always say this. Sometimes I'll do speaking engagements and people assume I'm in some kind of crazy rush to get out of here. I just want to say I will sit here all night answering every question for everyone. So if this live stream ends, guys, it's because of Nate and Aaron. It is not me spooning these guys along. I love doing this. This is my favorite part of the job, and I mean that. It's just so surreal that I'm the guy who, is being asked these questions.
Yeah, no, that's perfect because we have a lot here. I mean, there's also still stuff left on the presentation, so we're going to keep going. Awesome. I got more questions to ask you in general. I just want to bring this up, not a question, but I want to point out that Larry said that he's used SGC for 20 years for his vintage cards, and the grades have always been more consistent than PSA. Just got back some modern hockey with no complaints, basically what expected. And I would say, for me, getting multiple submissions back now, I've graded nearly 100 cards probably with SGC, maybe a little bit more than that. I would have to agree. I've had cards come back from PSA that were 8s that I thought were 10s, and other people thought were 10s too, not just myself. I've been grading cards since I was like 2012. I was probably like 12 years old at that point or something. But I haven't graded in like 10,000 like some people have, but I've graded enough to know. And then here's one, Peter. Maybe you can address this one way or another. SGC subgrades are needed. I know a lot of the market likes subgrades on Beckett. Tell us why there's no subgrades, or that you won't do subgrades. Just give us some knowledge.
Definitely. So I'm really happy this question was asked because it's such a common one. And when I see it, I just want to like jump through the screen and have a conversation with the person that posed it. So I'm happy that I get to kind of address this. So the thing with subgrades, guys, is that our label, okay, is a certain size. And if you increase the size of our label 10x, it would not have enough real estate for the amount of subgrades that go into deciding the proper grade of a trading card. So for example, what I'm trying to say by that is I can do it. I can have the same corners, surface, edges, centering. And I want to say this too. Guys, I don't know much about Beckett's grading. You all probably know more than me. That's not my job. I'm just talking about my company. And I almost apologize in advance as this comes out as anything but me just talking about us. But I will say regarding subgrades against kind of the SGC scale, guys, there are no 4 kind of divisions I can group these cards in and just average them out and come up with the proper grade. For example, I can do subgrades for you guys, but it's going to mean that some of your 9s should really be 10s and some of your 10s really shouldn't be 10s, because in our opinion, in our experts' opinion, it's not the way that card grading works. For example, originality on a vintage card that's commonly altered, that matters, okay? Registration matters. We see Panini Prisms, we all probably pulled them in the pack, where the rookie logo is here, but the stamp is like here, and the player's name is here, but it's printed here. Registration is not a subgrade on the scale, Originality is not a subgrade on the scale. eye appeal is not a subgrade on the scale. You know, how do you factor a dent on the back, but then poor registration? Is that like a double negative to the subgrade, or is that like, I don't know. And again, different companies, different strokes, different folks. But I'm just telling you guys what would go through the heads of my graders if I said to them, why don't we just break it up into 4 categories and just like give each one a score, and then we'll average that score and that'll equal the grade. And I know why everyone's asking. You're asking because you love to know why the card received the grade it did. Well, we're working on that, okay? You're right. You are entitled to more information. And that's kind of a multi-pronged approach where we're going to be coming out with graders and teaching you guys how to get better grades from SGC, what we look for. We're also going to be doing a lot of other fun things that I can't really get into right now. But my point is, guys, is it is a totally understandable desire and ask, whatever you want to call it. You know, I love teaching people about cards, and I have some Beckett holders, PSA holders, SGC holders. And I was actually showing a friend of mine who's not really into cards. He said, oh, I like that. I love how they break it down. And it makes sense why you would. But if the grade is not accurate, then I'd rather not break it down for you. I'd rather just make sure my experts are experts with a lot of grading experience. And the bottom line is you know, you mentioned it, Aaron, PSA is grading a lot of cards these days, and they are certainly king of the hill as it stands right now. And I think there's a reason they don't do it either, because we just, you know, I would say our scale's a little closer to PSAs, to put it, you know, as clear as possible. But that's why we don't do subgrades, because there's like 35 of these categories that all factor into the expert's opinion. The key is that your experts all share a very, very similar opinion. Consistency.
All right, here we go. Oh, go
hey,
ahead,
Aaron.
Nick.
I have a question. Do you think that if you got rid of the 9.585 scale, that people would care about subgrades if it was similar to PSA? Because PSA obviously doesn't do subgrades. You brought it up. And yet we've got questions about you guys doing subgrades because BGS does subgrades, but nobody ever in their life complains about PSA not doing subgrades.
Yeah.
Do you think it's kind of a bet you've made, now you have to lie in it and deal with it because of the 9.5 subgrade stuff? Or do you think
I'll tell you what, man, if that's a bet I have to lay with, I'll lay all day. Like, I'd rather run a company that some people don't love the way it's displayed on the label, but we do it what I deem to be the right way. In other words, like, sure, I could sell it out, you know, we can do subgrades, but if we don't believe in it, and we're kind of looked at as one of the 3 authorities in the industry, we probably shouldn't do it, you know. And that's why I'm even saying, like, guys, this is not a knock to Beckett. That company started with subgrades. They were built around subgrades, their scale, and that's totally cool. I have Beckett cards, but I'm just saying, as far as SGC goes, and I guess the more traditional approach to card grading that we believe offers the most accurate results, subgrades are very difficult, because again, what does, like, Nate, what does 5.5 edges look like? I don't know.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And that's, if I can't answer that question, I'm a clown who's selling a company he doesn't believe in, you know? So that's why I know what a 5.5 looks like, but I couldn't tell you what 3, you know, corners. I guess I could kind of, but you get my overall gist here, is that there's a lot of gaps that certain cards could fall into, that we believe we account for, especially with those 0.5s. You know, why do we give the 8.5 grade? Because a lot of cards are between an 8 and a 9, and we know what that kind of looks like. That's a real grade, you know.
Cool.
Good,
Thank you.
Good question, Nate. We're on 3 different comments here, all about the same thing, sort of. JR Sports Cards says he's heard from some high SGC submitters that SGC has been thinking of changing the label design. Is this true or ongoing? And then we have a second comment here that's from Criminal. It says, just change the label, make it look more high-end. And then we have a third comment that comes from Elijah Israel that says, clear slab option, like if it's clear, like the PSA. He said it's fine to keep the black slabs, but an option would be nice. And higher end looking labels would be big for me. Any plans? So with those 3 comments all around the same thing, why don't you let us know what's up?
Yeah, just on a personal level, I just want to say that I appreciate the fact, like, guys, it's so easy to go to Blowout or to just comment on one of SGC's pictures and just make a comment about something you don't like, whether it's the label or SGC sucks. And I just want to thank everyone who just is in this live. At the very least, they have their little YouTube tag up, like they're taking ownership over what they would like to see, and they're presenting it in a respectful way. And I just want to say that's healthy and good, and I'm not offended at all by that. Now I'll get into labels, okay? Labels are a bit difficult, guys. There are certain objective things about this industry. For example, the other week SGC came out. We didn't lower price across the board, but we did have a few price reductions, and we did have a few enhancements for all submitters. Objectively speaking, in my opinion, that should be a good thing because we offered just a little more and we lowered our price just a little less. When it comes to labels, holder design, it is subjective. It is harder to please everyone. I can promise you guys that the best we can possibly make it may have an 80-20 like to dislike ratio with our customer base, which makes making any changes very difficult. In addition, continuity is important, and we'd like to make sure that every collector who owns any slab of SGC just feels good about their card. You know, they put their support in us, they choose to collect our brand, and it's important that they kind of feel like our brand has their best interest in mind. Having said that, yes, we are thinking of everything. And I don't know if that cough went well, but that was a yes through my cough. We are thinking of that. We are thinking of, I mean it, guys, everything. When I say in these videos, like, we don't sit still, we're not complacent, I really mean that. I grew up in this industry. I've like so beyond exceeded the expectations I had for my time at SGC when I started here. And I just couldn't be hungrier. I don't pretend to be the best at it, but I'm telling you, Aaron, Nate, if you guys were given a grading company, you'd act the same way as me. You love this hobby. You want to win. You want to be great at it. You want to make the people happy. And when anyone says that they don't like the label, already my wheels start turning, and that's actively what's going on. I don't know if a label change is coming, but I've heard it before, and I get it. And rest assured, we're looking at it. We're looking at everything.
Awesome. This is looks like less of a SGC grading question, more of a Peter personal collector thing, which I think is a really good question because
my favorite questions.
Because it's the same with us, you know, like we are card collectors. It's impossible to have passion and to work on this stuff all day, every day if you're not. From the Canthel Kid, Peter, I know you're a collector yourself. Do you still buy PSA or BGS slabs? Maybe it's a card you really want that isn't available in an SGC slab, or do you rather buy raw and grade yourself?
So as you guys can imagine, I'm a big SGC fan, and I think a big thing for me is I probably hold a little. You know, I saw your poll earlier, Aaron, on kind of the what do you think it's worth, and then which one do you think is the better condition card? I'm definitely in that camp. I'm a little bit of a card condition freak to an extent, which is probably expected. So I do try to buy SGC because I tend to have a lot of faith in our cards in the grades. I do try to buy SGC, but absolutely, guys, some of my favorite cards, you know, unfortunately too, there's people just want you to fail and throw tomatoes at you and things like that. So I would love to be able to cross some of my cards and follow the same rules as everyone else, but it just causes more problems than good, kind of. So when I buy those cards, I tend to just leave them. So I have Beckett cards, I have PSA cards. Definitely, yeah. The answer is definitely, certainly the most SGC. But if there's a card that either I can't find in an SGC holder or one just comes up looking great in a PSA holder, I'll buy that all day.
I like that point. I like that Refractor Jones said you can't be a collector and not buy all slabs, even if you have a preference on your grading company. It's totally true. Like, obviously, I've been producing a lot of content at SGC recently. We're talking about the submissions we've been doing based on the turnaround times, the cost, how well the SGC grading team is getting our submissions back fast and everything. But me too. I mean, I have PSA graded cards, I have BGS graded cards. Two of my four most expensive cards in my collection are graded by BGS. Do I kind of want to get one of them in an SGC 1010 holder? I love how the 1010s look. Yeah, probably. Will I try? I don't know yet. But that's just how it goes if you're a collector. You know, you got to get the cards you want. Thomas here's got a good one. I saw him ask this earlier, so apologies for not getting this up quicker, Thomas. But what else is new that's coming to SGC? Any chance of a membership with quarterly discounts on certain cards, years, etc.? I know PSA used to do that a lot back in the day when card grading wasn't insane like it is now.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, guys, there's a lot of ways I could grab your money, and it's cloaked as if I'm helping you, like calling you a member of something. Or I could just treat everyone like they're a member of the tribe of SGC because you choose to submit with us. Like, I could have made a membership that only allowed those people to access the 5 and 10 day and give them this much off per card, but they're paying this much up front, so I'm doing better. My point is I personally don't see a need to have an exclusive club that people have to pay into to offer those people certain things that I'm only offering if my profits are there. In other words, I'm not going to offer you something that I'm losing money on. So you're kind of being taken for a ride, most likely somewhere along the way. I'd rather just treat every customer as if they're our one and only customer. And I think anyone who's ever had an issue with an SGC card, which do come up, you probably noticed that whether it was Brent emailing you about those cards or Brian speaking to you on the phone, we really treat all collectors like we are thankful to be receiving their support. And with that, I would be lying if I said that I was looking into a membership program. To me, it just doesn't suck to be able to pay, as low as $23 a card and get your cards back in, 2.5 weeks right now, whatever. It's we're doing our best.
Here's a good one from Nicholas Hayes. Will SGC have an app like PSA scan for pop reports?
It's almost like see my answer on labels. Yeah, we're looking at everything, guys. And if there's an app to be had, we're working on it. So the answer to that is, I don't like to commit to these things because then people circle back a few weeks from now and they say, well, where is it? But I also love being transparent. So I'm kind of at this crossroads. But the fact is, guys, is we are looking to innovate on all cylinders, which may be the label. It certainly tech never hurts. I was really proud. The way I described it to my team, we had a team meeting where I gave them the heads up over what we've been developing and what we were going live with during the last updates. And I said, guys, one thing I'm really proud about is that when it comes to grading accuracy and consistency, I am very confident we're up there with the best of them. When it comes to turnaround time, we're frankly untouched. Our customer service couldn't be better, or let me know so I can fix something. My point is that we've been winning so big in these categories, but there's always been one that SGC just doesn't do well in. And that's kind of the universe around the cards themselves. We were always great at grading correctly and giving you that slab back. But the fact that we were able to just make a few tweaks, nothing, changing the world, but to the process where you can see your images a little faster, you can enjoy them while you're actually receiving your grades themselves. And then obviously the cert lookup feature with the images is a huge security feature. So my point is SGC's traditionally won in certain areas and lost big in others. And it meant a lot to me that we just made this much progress in an area that I think a lot of collectors have felt that we've been lacking.
Awesome. Caesar, what's the process of giving a card a gold label status, the pristine SGC 10?
Yeah, so we don't take our gold label lightly. The way that it basically works is if the card, imagine you're grading the card yourself. And granted, you've been trained on all of SGC's, I guess you'd say, parameters, parameters and the scale and things like that. And you're just looking at it and there's nothing to look at. I mean, the thing just looks like it was made to be perfect. That usually calls for a gold label, honestly. And remember, there's so many intricate factors that go into a card's grade. People don't realize on an issue like 2019 Prism, centering's quite easy because you have kind of those almost like a border to the left and right. But when you get to 2018 Topps Update, for example, you just have the logo and the little banner at the bottom. Centering's a bit more ambiguous there. We really only give the gold label unless we are absolutely sure that the card deserves it. And that it's not easy. People don't realize that I would say 99.5% of cards out of the pack don't call for that gold label, and just handling it and putting it in a card saver or a penny sleeve, if anything happens at all, you've now killed your qualifications for the gold label. So it's a really hard grade to get, and I think for good reason. And the reason we do have it though is, we gold labeled a Michael Jordan rookie, and talking about that lack of subgrades that we need to make the best decision every time. That card came from a collection that was about as new to the hobby as it gets, super, super fresh. The cards were amazing. They were all off center, this 86 Fleer set. They all looked somewhere in the range of 8 and 9, but they were amazingly sharp. It was just centering as the issue. And we're going through the cards and we get to the Jordan rookie, and it was literally the only one out of the group that was just dead on. And it was so fresh, and it was so obviously unaltered in every single way that kind of helped catapult that card to the top. Our graders basically said, this is the best Jordan rookie I've ever seen in 20 years. And that was all we needed to feel like we were making the best decision.
I love it. Rick, any chance SGC will offer new slab that's clear opposed to tuxedo style? I think you answered it earlier, but just really quick, you can give an update on that.
Yeah, I don't think, I got to be honest, guys. I don't think we want to move away from the look itself. We more want to bring you an even better one, if that makes sense. And a lot of the time, I prefer, especially for all those SGC collectors out there that love the look of the slab. I think that instead, what I would do is just try, hopefully, to tinker in ways that would make you like it more. But let me just say, guys, I am a collector myself, and I know how harshly I evaluate my cards, let alone like the entire product altogether. So I hear you guys. The one thing I'd say is there is definitely a little bit of kind of a correlation between people holding the slab, owning the slab, and it warming up to them. You know, so what I would say is if you've never held an SGC slab and you feel like you don't like it, my advice is buy the cheapest one you could find on eBay for, you know, the few bucks and hold it and see what you think. But if you've done that and you don't like it, again, I wish that wasn't the case. I'd love to have the best slab in the world that everyone loved, but just know we are actively looking at everything across the board to make it better, not worse.
I've really had the SGC slab grow on me, particularly in like the white based cards or colorful based cards where there's like thick contrast between the card itself and the SGC slab, the black tuxedo slab. I'm a huge fan of it, and obviously like certain cards, you know, you get some black based cards and it just sometimes it bleeds together, but a lot of them look really, really good. So it just grows on you. The more that you start to enjoy the experience, I think the better, and the more you have them in hand too. I think a lot of people probably have never actually even had one like in hand, if you think about it. Or have had experience of grading with SGC.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I would also just say that I hope that the majority of collectors out there do feel like, guys, we're doing this for the cards. We're not collecting grading companies, you know, and grading companies are really just vehicles to enhance your collecting experience, to offer even a bit more collectability. You know, anyone can own a Montana rookie, you know, they're not that rare, but it's kind of cool to be able to say, I own a mint condition Montana rookie. And I know it's mint condition because this company has been grading cards for 20 years and they say it's mint condition. That to me is very cool. But I do want to say another reason we posted what we did about that Zion was just to tell people, like, guys, if you were paying, you know, 300,000 extra dollars because it's in their holder rather than ours, even though we're still catching up on the super, super high end, ultra modern market, guys, it can't be worth 300,000. Like that will close that gap. It's going to close in time anyway, but we do try to put out a bit of information to accelerate that process because we kind of owe it to the collectors that have put their faith in us.
Speaking of the collectors that put their faith in you, I'm going to combine this with one of my own questions I had for you. The Canthel kid said that, Peter, do you think SGC would be where you are currently at without the vintage baseball collectors? I personally started taking you guys serious through buying vintage baseball. Now, I also had the question from a perception of vintage only for many years, many years, that the card industry looked at SGC as vintage only. You know, why would a modern card ever be an SGC slab? But now it's way different. To now, when SGC is in discussions as the potential number 2 grading card company out there behind PSA, and obviously everyone has their own opinions on that. How did something like that happen in less than 2 years? And is it what the Canthel kid said that, you know, would you be there here today without having that first, you know, the vintage baseball market really embracing you?
Definitely not. That's the first thing. Like, guys, when I kind of took over at SGC, I inherited a company with an absolutely stellar reputation, but not with the hobby, with a certain segment of the hobby. And it was important that we kind of grew that reputation off of that. And, you know, the reason it kind of started that way, to be honest, guys, is the foundation of card collecting was baseball cards, and vintage used to kind of, vintage is valued more now than ever, but it used to be kind of the one and only, and for that reason, a lot of the individuals that kind of helped really build this hobby into what it is today started out as graders at SGC, believe it or not, 20 something years ago. What I'm trying to kind of get to is that the grading quality has been there the whole time. Our guys and girls didn't just learn how to grade modern cards. That didn't happen. What we did instead is we actually provided some outreach, because to be honest, guys, the way that the vintage baseball collectors communicated with SGC was like, we'd go to a show and shake their hands, and they knew our names, and they knew our experts and trusted them with every card they owned. But we weren't on Instagram, and we weren't, making this call out to the modern people saying, hey, you do know that the person running this company is 27 years old and is a modern addict, right? And you do know that our graders who are grading Wagner cards can also grade exquisite LeBron cards, So I think that the key component there, which is the expertise itself, has been there the whole time. What me and my team have helped kind of fill in is, did anyone notice that auto grades are free with SGC, but not anyone else? That, for example, is what we've done, and that's how we've grown. We've just been better. If we damage your card and you write down, $800 as a declared value on your invoice, but we could see it's really worth like $1,300 in today's market, we're going to pay you about $1,400 as an apology for damaging your card. I don't think there are many other companies that do that. And it's like, if you be better, eventually, I'm very proud of our supporters, because it's not an easy thing to stray away, kind of just from that loyalty, that brand connection. And it means a lot to me that people have started to take notice. And I'd be lying if I said, guys, that when I read Instagram comments that are super positive or SGC to the moon or whatever it is, that gets me amped up, and it gets my team amped up. So, overall, we've just done the little things right. We've treated people with respect. We've scaled the right way. We've scaled in general. I mean, come on, scale the things, spend the dollars for the hobby that supports you. And, the expertise is there. We're honest too. I have to just say also, a lot of the time when I speak anywhere, it's like, Million, oh, thank you so much for taking the time. We know how busy you are. It's like, sure, but so are you guys. My point is this is not hard. We should be looking at these other companies and saying, why aren't you doing this? Because I have to be honest, guys, these are softball questions. When you're proud of the organization that you represent, this is not hard. You just tell the truth. You just answer the questions honestly and communicate with your supporters. I don't need to think, I don't need to lie, because I'm very proud of what I've built, or why did I build it that way? And it's important that we hold everyone to that standard, rather than almost making it like SGC is this alien from outer space because they talk to us.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I think that communication is so important. That's what we try to do we're here every single Monday on a live stream. I know that Peter is like, hey, whenever you're ready, just say, man, here we are now. From Florida, where can I find job openings? Is SGC hiring?
Indeed. I'll tell you one thing. If you're planning to come into our company and be a grader, it's the wrong place to work, believe me. But if you're willing to kind of, almost buy in to us and learn the craft, you won't be happy. So you won't be unhappy. So what I would say is we are actively hiring. We have a really nice kind of training model in place, indeed. And if you take your time and you fill in the questions and the application, we're hiring aggressively. So appreciate that question.
That's awesome. And, part of some of my questions here was about getting to the point where you can take in your record amount of cards in a day and still meet these insane turnaround times that are unmatched in the hobby. Is it the hiring? Is it the training properly? You had to have hired an incredible amount of employees.
Yeah. I mean, I have to say, guys, I really try not to, I just try to kind of stay in my lane and not talk down to the hobby. I am literally a collector that got so lucky to be able to bring his passion and his love for the craft to work every day. But, I have to call a spade, and I will say we are very good at that. We are really, really good. We have tapped into something that, from what I hear from the other companies, is is not exactly the case. It's not an easy thing. But when you're this passionate about what you do and you can effectively communicate that to others and hold them accountable to respect the craft as much as you do, or they just don't deserve to be on your team, it goes a long way. So clearly we built a model. I mean, just a few years ago, guys, I'm almost embarrassed to say, we were sending out like 250 cards a day. And we're now sending out over 5,000 cards, many times a week, call it. So we've done a nice job there, and hard work and the team around me. If you think that I'm the only guy this passionate about SGC, you've never been in our building. And I'm really looking forward to kind of spreading the spotlight around, because by no means should I be the single kind of representant of this amazing team. There's just too much talent in here to go around. We floated the idea of doing a podcast and just a really kind of totally pulling back the curtain. But I think for now, I'm just going to kind of hang on to your guys' coattails and let you keep me backstage until you're ready for me.
Got you. Bishop says, Peter, will SGC be set up at the Culture Collision in Atlanta? If so, will we be accepting cards at the show? And just in general, is there any show plans for 2022, or is it logistically hard to do?
So I have a board right here, and that board it's a big board, and it is filled with these different kind of objectives and things that we're working on. And one of those is having more of an outward reach. You know, it's really great to be able to sit down at your computer when you're interested and hear maybe some of this info, or learn more a little about kind of SGC and who's running the show there and how they operate. But it's even cooler to be able to really connect one-on-one. And that's something I enjoyed so much at the National, as did our team. So I do want you guys to know we are very aggressively building towards not only being at some shows, but really, guys, being kind of a mainstay all across the country. It's not easy. I want to remind everyone that we care so much about the level of service that if you pull certain resources off of the line, basically from the company, you know, you can't just make it appear. You know, it's almost you sacrifice one for the other. But if you work hard enough and you kind of, you know, move some things around, we'll be able to do it. And I want to assure everyone that it may not be next week that we're coming to all these shows, but we're coming, and I can promise you we are as nice as we seem. Like SGC is cool.
I like this one from Alex White. What goes into grading a Honus Wagner? Does the whole place shut down to look at it? And I'm assuming you've been there for years and years now. I'm assuming you've seen at least one come through the building.
Oh, I've seen a lot. I've seen a lot of Wagners come through the building, which is really, really cool. A lot of people, they almost, I could kind of walk you through the process. Imagine the card is definitely, there's kind of a babysitter of the card throughout the entire way. It's our job. You know, one advantage that SGC has with our kind of small company culture, even though we've grown very large, is that we know all of our people. With that, not all encapsulators are created equal, meaning some of them have 2 years experience. Some of them have 3 months experience. You know, that kind of differentiation between people's knowledge and expertise really helps us make the best decisions on behalf of our customers' products. So for example, on that Wagner, you can imagine the entire grading team sees it. Once the entire grading team sees it, you can imagine it goes only to the best, I guess you'd say the leader, the supervisor of every department. It's essentially our A team. And it's really like grading any other card. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's a lot more that goes into it. You know, there's really not even a lot more that goes into it. It's just so impactful. You know, you just really need to make sure on that one that you get it perfect the entire time. But at the end of the day, guys, it's not like trading cards are a certain way, or some T206s are this way, but the Wagner's so different. Remember, up until the time when collectors, you know, really appreciated the scarcity of the card, out of the factory, it was just another card. You know, it's not made on a different paper stock or anything like that. So it's almost like if you're built for some cards, usually you're built for all. It just really comes down to the expertise in the grading room. And that's what's important. You can't build a grading company overnight because it's all on expertise. So it's like some of these new companies, you make a scale. It's like, where's that scale even coming from? Like, who are you telling me what this card is? You know, but there's Wagner's, you know, LeBron rookies, whatever it is. They're highly impactful. You don't want to damage one, obviously, but it's the same graders, the same, experts really looking at that, and, the lower value cards as well.
Marcus says that SGC should do a podcast, Lead the Way. That'd be great for the hobby. So maybe some things to think about there. Sportsman Jack, is SGC considering new design? Peter mentioned a couple times earlier that nothing's off the table with labels and everything. They're doing everything they can just to read the consumers and see what's up. And then this one's from Jason, and Peter, you can answer this however you need to. But he says it's amazing the gap that SGC has closed over the last year. Do you think the changes you have made will close the gap on ultra modern market values of PSA? Dollar and turnaround time is awesome. Thank you.
It's tough because thanks for the question. It's honestly, guys, it's the kind of thing like I think when I start telling you what to pay for what, it's like a slippery slope. And like, who the hell am I? I'm just the guy that tells you guys, our graders are real graders. And the guy that runs this big grading machine loves cards as much as anyone. That's what's really important. But beyond that, it's like, be free, spend what you want to spend on what. I mean, that is why we came out and said, just so everyone knows, the Zion was also in our 9.5, because the public should know something like that before they're throwing, suitcases full of cash at a single card based on something that's really almost more about the grading company sometimes than the asset itself. I think in general, I really think in general that, I lost my train of thought.
We're talking about the market values, but I let you answer the question.
Market values, right. So as far as that goes, Aaron, I think that what's important when people look at a PSA card and an SGC card is they understand who SGC is, because what it does is it gives you a lot of confidence. And if PSA is saying it's a 10 and you're confident in them, you could also be confident in SGC. Then it's up to you. What holder do you like better? What are the pros and cons of grading with either of the companies? So again, I'm just here to educate people on what SGC is about and to let them know that a PSA 10 oftentimes looks equal to an SGC 10. Sometimes I guess you could say it looks a little better. Sometimes it looks a little worse, but the key word is little, not big, big, big. So it doesn't make that much sense to be spending this big amount of money on something that doesn't warrant it. But only the collectors can make that decision, and it's certainly not my job to tell them what's what. But I appreciate the comment, by the way. The gap closing really to me is just it's like a big, great job from the hobby. So I enjoy seeing it.
This is a great question from Criminal Mind. What do you say to people who say that SGC is only gaining traction because people can't afford PSA and BGS prices right now? And what happens to SGC once PSA gets caught up?
So there's a lot of things. The thing to remember, Aaron, is, you mentioned before, or one of your viewers said, why can't you lower price to $20? And what I say is because there's only so many cards my team can grade effectively a day. And I have to make sure that we're not receiving 4 times that, or I'm going to be treating all of you very, very badly when you choose to grade with us. Inversely, if anything ever happened to lower the SGC demand, that's when we can just floor the gas pedal. And we could do things that we may not have the ability to do now because it would send our demand shooting so far up, it would just be detrimental. So my point is hey, maybe the demand for SGC goes down when these other companies kind of get their stuff together. Sure. Sounds like lower prices to me, that kind of thing. But at the same time, I'm going to build and build and build to protect the collectors that have graded with SGC over the past year. These grades are accurate. These cards are protected. And it's my job to kind of ensure that for our organization, which is all I can really worry about, is that we're doing what we should, which is be strong as a brand for kind of the good of the supporters of SGC. But also, if that means adjusting, by all means. I would just also argue, though, believe me, we've been doubted for a long time. We've been the underdog, and we tend to deliver. And we've been hearing for a long time, since last March, I believe it was, PSA's closed. It's the only reason you're getting cards. Well, now PSA was at $100, and now they're opening lottery things at $50. And I just told you we just got a record day, and it's probably due to the update we did last week where we brought down our prices, and enhance the process. So it's almost like there are a lot more tricks up our sleeves, guys. By no means are we just going to sit here and wait back, I guess you'd say. I don't want to come off as too aggressive, but it's important that our collectors know that SGC has been here for a long time, and we plan to be here for an even longer time.
I love the confidence. Peter, I saw a question earlier. I can't find it to pull it up, but someone asked about the thick slabs and a card that he has potentially rattling around it. What can you talk about just with the thick slabs themselves and the protection that goes into it? I know that stuff happens with PSA slabs, with BGS slabs. It's impossible to be 100% accurate, I know, but what goes into the thick slabs to make sure those cards are protected?
It is. It definitely goes on with everyone, and it is very difficult. I've actually received cards in the mail from one of the other grading companies where I had an issue with the card, but from my perspective, being at the grading company, I was almost like, I hear you, bro, like that kind of thing. It is so difficult to come up with the perfect shape and size based on thickness, but also surface. For example, like immaculate cards, that foil, you blow on it and it just rubs off. There's so many different factors that go into protecting these cards that all you can do as a company that's paid to do so is just do everything in your power to protect every single one as much as you can. But there are times, we have many holders. We have hundreds and hundreds of these frames, the insert sizes, but even still, there are so many tens of thousands of different kinds of cards, or even more than that you tend to, it's almost like this cat and mouse game of trying to keep up with the sets and the die cuts and the thicknesses, tops, what is it? Not definitive, diamond icons. Nate, you're a baseball guy. The diamond icons, there's cleat cards that are this big. It's like, what are you going to do with that, man? So it's a tough game. And it really stinks when someone uses SGC and they're not just like totally amped about it all. And I apologize if the card wasn't encapsulated exactly how you wished it was, but it is really hard for all companies. And all you could really ask is that they innovate and do their best. And I can tell you that thick holder that you had was actually manufactured by SGC for the first time in March of last year of 2021. So prior to 2021 March, that holder didn't exist. So hopefully you at least feel like, well, they're working on it, because that's a very new holder that you probably are holding. And just know we really try to be as good as we can. And we make a lot of investments into holder innovation, that kind of thing.
We're getting some really good questions in here tonight. Justin is wondering, he says, I love everything about SGC, but there's international shipping fees too high compared to PSA and BGS. Anything you can maybe explain about that or stuff to look out for and ways to maybe, group subbers and stuff?
Yep. So there are a few things, guys, that we're at the mercy of. Okay. That's just completely out of our control. And it stinks because it's the only thing I'm not the decision maker. I can't just, wave my wand to make happen. And one of those that comes to mind is PayPal. We offer PayPal. We started doing that because we thought that PayPal was just something all collectors use between eBay and things like that. So we thought we were doing them a solid with PayPal, and we definitely are. But we've realized that a lot of these transactions are getting canceled by PayPal for no reason at all. We are going, to the end of the world to solve this issue with PayPal, and they're PayPal, and they don't treat us like we matter. So it's difficult with PayPal. Another one is international shipping fees. We are constantly on the phone with customs of these countries and things like that to make sure that they understand that these cards were not bought from SGC, rather they were owned by the international individuals who sent them in for grading. So what tends to happen is customs is an issue across the board. It's country by country. I think we had sent a card, Israel, obviously with the defenses that they need, is a nightmare to ship to, unfortunately. There are a few of these countries that just really make it hard for us. But I can tell you, you can ask our office manager every day is on the phone about international shipping rates. I could just promise you guys, we're not making... it's not like you're paying this and we're making a large profit off of your shipping fees. If we are the highest, then we will continue to work on that, because I don't like hearing that, obviously.
I want to pull this up from Baubles and Ball Cards. Mentioned that they do group subs and folks from UK, Canada, Japan, etc. that send in. Many of them have been using Ship My Cards for return shipping. I don't know if you have an account with them or not. Yeah, Ship My Cards handles a lot of international shipping for people overseas that want to get cards graded or buy cards, and they stack them up and then send one big package back home for a cheaper shipping cost. Definitely looking to Ship My Cards. Whoever made that comment, I think it was Justin. Let's see here. Tom, does SGC grade the 1986 Monty Gum Wrestling All-Star cards? They're a bit smaller, and I know PSA does, but I would prefer to see him in a tuxedo, to be honest.
Well, I appreciate the support, Tom. I have to be clear. I don't want to come off as a know-it-all. I'm not familiar with that set. I would think if it is a licensed set, it looks like you included Monty Gum there, so there is a manufacturer in a year. I'm not sure, but I'll tell you what, if you were to email support@gosgc.com, we're standing by to answer the question. And if you do it right now, you'll probably wake up to an answer early tomorrow morning, letting you know if we do grade that issue or not. Unfortunately, I don't have that knowledge off the top of my head, which I apologize for.
So we have some comments here that are not questions, but SGC grading may be undervalued, but not for long. Good to hear from a leader, says Jed. And then David, thanks for coming on and being transparent, Peter. And then there's one more in here that Jason says, thank you so much for answering and for the transparency I've seen from your company. So just some nice words about SGC. And then there's something here from Dylan, who might be new to grading. Who is SCG? It's SGC. Now you have it right, now that I said that. But have tons of cards he's just getting back into it. Do you charge extra for old cards, old rookie like PSA does?
Well, that's a general rookie. Is this a Ruth rookie or is this an Ernie Banks rookie in a 2.5? Those are two different things. The bottom line is SGC does have a kind of a fee structure that is based on value. We really try to keep it a little loosey-goosey. We're not looking to make enemies out of our supporters, but the beautiful thing about vintage modern, we do it all, and hopefully you like the look of our holders and you kind of go with us. But appreciate the question. But again, I don't know what the rookie is. If it was even a specific card, I might be able to just answer that on the fly right now. But our fees, I believe they go up to $1,500, but that would really be more like raw value. We don't upcharge a ton of people. Maybe I shouldn't say that, but we just don't. It's just we don't need it.
And really quick, this is like if you go to gosgc.com, if you do want to check it out right now or after the stream to maybe look into grading with SGC, if you like what Peter has to say or what we had to say, this is kind of like the table with the fee based on the turnaround times. And then as you can see, when you get into the 1 to 2 day grading, which is pretty much immediately, the fees do go up based on the value, but I'd imagine a lot of these do come with like the vintage baseball cards, right, Peter? Mostly.
Yeah, no, it's almost exclusively vintage baseball, and I'm going to give your audience kind of as a SlabStox special a little hint. Okay, so
I like it.
If you were the owner of that Zion Williamson National Treasures RPA and you contacted my team and you said, I love you guys, I want to put this card in your holder, but I don't want to pay $3,750 because it's worth what it is, you know what we'd say? Hey, $30. We appreciate your support. In other words, guys, we're looking to grow into the areas that we are weakest in, and we're very strong in certain areas and we're weaker in others. And in order to incentivize that growth, kind of, again, accelerate that process, we don't want to make it hard for you to help us get to where we want to be, which means that if you do have a high-end modern card, you can almost bet, guys, that you're not going to get a call from SGC saying it's time to pay us more money because you chose to go with us.
That's awesome. It's awesome to hear. Those upcharges can get quite extensive from other companies. Nate, do you have something?
Well, there's actually a good one here. Do you grade non-sport?
Definitely. And this is an area I have failed, guys. I have to be better with this. I've said it to myself constantly. Once in a while, someone commented on our Instagram post the other day, and he said, I am trying so hard to get you guys Pokemon, and you're not doing me any favors because you never post it on Instagram. And that individual was so correct. The bottom line is that, just even breaking down the numbers, there are more sports cards in our building, but there are so many TCG cards, Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, MetaZoo, kind of the whole thing. And that's an area that we are looking to get much more, I don't want to say aggressive in, but we want to kind of reach out an olive branch to those collectors and let them know that, those cards and SGC holders look fantastic. We know what we're doing on the cards. And again, I take the fall for this one. I really should be pushing, very diversely across the entire collecting spectrum. And I'm going to be honest, I'm a sports card collector myself. I do fool around with first edition Pokemon because it's what I collected when I was a kid, but nothing really beyond that. But a large portion of our staff are almost very much the inverse of me, where they know a lot more about Charizard than they do about, whoever. And we'll get better with that. I want to let everyone know that. But the answer is yes, we grade Pokemon very accurately. We have a lot of experience doing it. Pokemon cards have been around since very early on. So is SGC. We've been seeing them for 20 years. And again, my apologies for even making you ask that question. It's just a complete failure on my part to outreach to you.
Justin asked about grading Pokemon from Asian countries like Korea and China releases. I know they grade Japanese cards.
So again, I'm not an expert on Pokemon, but if I'm kind of correct here, the answer would be yes. We do grade them, unless I'm missing something and I'm just naive to the origin of these cards. We do grade international cards of all kinds. Vintage soccer is usually produced overseas. There's many cards there's a famous Babe Ruth issue from Germany. And the answer to that is yes, unless I'm missing something. But if you want a definitive answer on that, you could just take a quick image on your phone, email it to support@gosgc.com, and we'll give you a little more of a surefire answer on that, because I'd hate to have you spend the money to send your cards in only to have them returned back to you ungraded.
Awesome. Bishop, Peter, when SGC receives a card to grade, does SGC clean the card before the grade, or do we need to do that before we submit? I'm assuming he is mentioning like microfiber cloth to get thumbprints off of the card or dust.
Yeah, definitely. So as collectors, there's so many, our team is made up of people that either grew up in this hobby and love it, or people that kind of taught someone how awesome this hobby is a little later in life. Since that's the case, we get it. We understand how you all operate, because we are just all of you, basically. In other words, we understand that when you're holding a Panini Prism, it is near impossible to put it in the penny sleeve, to put it in the card saver without getting anything on the surface, and to hold the condition of the card against that fingerprint that literally just goes boop and it's gone, to us doesn't make much sense. So, clean is a heavy word, because clean can mean in vintage, if you clean a 48 leaf Jackie, that could mean that you literally dip the card in bleach. That's very different than what we're doing, but we do you guys a solid. If we have your card and there's something that, again, is just one of those flicks or a simple whoop and it's gone, we will do that 100% of the time, because in our opinion, we should. That's how it should go, or we wouldn't do it in the first place.
That's extremely impressive. I actually thought the answer was going to be no, because I think for a lot of places the answer is no, and I do oftentimes have to take a lot of time to oh, is there a fingerprint on this card? Let me get my microfiber out. Sometimes when you're not at least for me, I've done it for a lot of years, but if you're not the expert, it's a daunting task, right? Pulling out your $1,000 card and trying to wipe that thing off. Nate, I'm sure that you would probably be super scared to do that.
I was going to say, Lazy Nathan here took that to mean never wipe off a fingerprint or dust ever again. Just send cards in as they are, because I know it's taken care of and I don't have to risk it.
Yeah, look, there is a certain level of that, Nate, that I almost welcome. I've actually seen people just growing up in the hobby. I've seen people prep cards for PSA, and it's this insane process where it's literally insane. I mean, it's crazy what they're doing just to make sure that when the grader has it, there's nothing else on the card, or they're going to get a 9 or an 8 or whatever it is. It's don't get me wrong, do your cards a solid. I don't need to create more work for my team that has a lot of cards to grade. But at the same time, again, I don't want anyone ever feeling like we held a fingerprint against them. The one thing I would definitely advise against is a lot of the time, what we find in the grading room is that collectors use some kind of solution at times on their Prism cards. Like it literally is like an external substance. Do not do that. It is damaging your cards. It's hurting your cards. It's not helping your cards. That would be my advice. But again, overall, you're paying us good money to grade your cards. We can use a microfiber cloth to make sure that the fingerprint that you put on it accidentally isn't being held against the condition of the card.
I love it. That's so great to hear. Marcus, SGC is a leader of the hobby. It's simple. Be honest and be caring. Thank you for the real talk and professionalism. And then Michael Ham, does Peter feel there should be a standard scale to grading a card? I've had a lot of thoughts about this because of how there's obviously SGC and PSA and BGS. That's what a lot of the discussions, but now there's a lot of other random grading companies too, but there's no standard scale. It's hard to figure out sometimes. But Peter, let's hear your thoughts.
So like I said, I can say definitively we are much closer to PSA than we are to the Beckett scale. And that's not to say, anything. It's just what I would call a fact. So I would say we're much more similar to the PSA scale of grading. The one thing I will say is we've thought about that actually. And to some degree, we've kind of, I don't want to say we're working on it, but we kind of agree with you. We agree with you. And I think that what bothers me is when, a new grading company pops up almost out of thin air, and that's the place you wash your cards with. In other words, if your card can't get a 10 anywhere else, these guys are just so desperate to break in, or they don't have the expertise to see that the card's trimmed or has color added, and they'll just grade it. I'm not going to say which company it was, but a newer company, we got a Jeter SP rookie from the other day. The card was in, I believe, an 8. We had to call the customer because we liked the card until we saw that there was color added to it. That Jeter SP on the back, there's that blue corner. Someone added some pretty obvious color, and we actually had to buy the card back because we had cracked it out. We weren't able to see. It had, I believe, no minimum grade. So we cracked it out. When we went to grade it, we saw color was added, and apparently these other companies, they literally don't have the experience to know what color added to a corner looks like. So that matters, So yeah, that's hopefully I circle my way around to that answer.
Out of curiosity, what do you do with the cards you crack out? Put them on a wall somewhere, or?
Well, what do you mean by crack out, Nate? Because the only time we'll crack out a card is if it's going in our holder.
That specific instance where you had to buy it. So you crack it out, you can't see something, you have to buy it. Do you have a wall somewhere where you have
I have to be honest, the way that I would think a lot of other companies operate, and I believe even the way that SGC operated in the past was we would downgrade the card or put it in an A. Okay, so there are circumstances where if we were, if we saw a card again and upon review, we actually saw, we missed that, and that's an alteration, and it shouldn't be in a numerical grade. It should be in an authentic holder. Or if the card was in a 9 and now it's an 8, and the collector chooses to just take the full value of the card rather than the difference of the values on the card back, there's a few things we'll do. I think the traditional thing, the more business savvy thing would be to put it in the correct grade and then just auction it off with a third party seller and just put those fees in the company's bank account. Instead, I do things like give them away to employees. For example, we damaged a Pikachu. It was a Pikachu. It was I don't pretend to know the name of the card, but it's Pikachu in front of a birthday cake. And it's a really cool looking Pokemon card. I'm into it. And it was really cool. And we have a woman in our verification, in our research and ID department, who is just a Pokemon fanatic, the best employee on earth, could not be more passionate about cards, loves Pokemon. Her desk is just there's a fan of every Pokemon card. I went over, and remember, the card was now damaged, but she doesn't care. She's, she's a collector that just would love that card. So I gave that one. We bought it back. We made it right with the collector. I ended up giving that to her, and it was so well deserved, and it made her day. And now it's sitting there raw because it would probably grade a 3, but she's just so proud to have it. So that's one example. But look, if we damaged a big card, or a card's grade did need to change, in the absolute, I guess the absolute worst case, we would put it in the proper grade. Then I guess we could just give it to, an eBay. I don't think we'd sell it from SGC, obviously, but we could do that. We haven't done that in a very long time, come to think of it. We also don't, we're not in the business of damaging major
No,
cars.
no, I don't think it happens very often.
Yeah. Well,
I'm
I'll
just
tell you
curious.
one thing though. One thing you guys can learn, and I love it's so fun to educate people on what happens at SGC. But we damage a lot of cards, and people say that's a lot of cards. But when you're grading 5,000 a day, if you damage 2 a day, it's too many. Granted, it's totally unacceptable to us. But that's like 0.0001%. It almost never happens. And the thing that is so important that I take a tremendous amount of pride in is your card could go from a 9.5 to a 9. I mean it. We will call you. If it was us that made that card go from a 9.5 to a 9, we will call you. It could be a $15 difference. We'd rather get you on the phone, give you your $15 and your card back in the 9 rather than the 9.5, but know that you appreciate the heads up and the honesty rather than getting that card back and knowing that corner wasn't nicked before I sent it. So I think the difference between us and maybe some others is that we always let you know if we change the condition of your card, I guess in any kind of really meaningful way, because that's not what we're paid to do. We're paid to protect them.
Love that. Since I'm pretty sure Aaron's had a good number of experience with other grading companies on sending in cards and getting them back with a dinged corner or this or that on it.
Yeah, and it's just so easy. I mean, you just call the person, like I said, guys, the grading business, it's like newsflash. This is a good business to be in. And the bar has just been so low for so long. It's like, be better, guys. Come on. There's just there really is no reason to mistreat people.
Peter, I have to give you guys props for that, and also say that that's the same way we think about things. When we're there breaking cards and I accidentally ripped the wrong pack for someone that they told me they want pack 4, but I accidentally ripped pack 3 for them, I'll give them pack 3 and pack 4 for the same price they pay for pack 4. Right. That's my mistake, right? It's not like, oh, you got to live with it, right? No, it's like, that was my fault. You get both packs. It's just not, there's no way in any world that $25 or whatever is worth it, right? It's like the customer's always first. I think
exactly.
of the SpongeBob episode when I don't know if anyone knows the hotel one. But.
Yeah, I can appreciate that. I think I remember there's a sushi place across from SGC, and my fiance had asked me to pick up dinner on my way home. She had ordered it. I was just picking it up, and I go there and I'm expecting to just grab the bag and leave because it's ready. And the guy ends up coming to me devastated. He's like, "I'm so sorry. I made you the salad instead of the sashimi or something." And he just said, "Could I get you a drink, sir?" Because then I had to wait. And I just thought to myself, I'm like, this place does it right. They screwed up. Everyone screws up. But, he's offering me a drink. And then after I said, no thanks to the drink, he actually gave me, imagine the salad and the sushi together for the same price of one. It's really not hard to do that. And the reason that I think we've been successful at SGC is we've brought a fresh mindset, a fresh approach, I guess, to a traditionally underserved audience. And the bar has been low for so long, guys, that we're truly not that special. It's just time to raise that bar because we all deserve it. If we want this hobby to achieve the heights we want it to, sending in a $5,000 card that's in the condition of a 9 or 10, you get it back, it's in the condition of a 4 or 5, and they didn't tell you, anything about that's not good for the hobby. It's just going to chase people away and make them feel like this is a totally illegitimate, industry, business, whatever you want to call it. So, yeah, it's I appreciate the kind words every time we do that, but then I kind of scratch my head, just why it's so incredible,
I want to give you some props because you've been able to hold 150 viewers in here for nearly 2 hours. That is pretty impressive. If
I can go all night. I challenge you guys. I'm not kidding. I love this. It is the biggest break. I was in the waiting room. I was backstage in the waiting room trying to adjust my shirt and make sure I was ready for this. And I'm watching you guys go through these cards. You two, I deal with a lot of people in the hobby that do different things. You two may just have the single best job that I've seen out there where you can just talk cards as if I'm sitting with my buddies in my living room. It is awesome. And I wish my microphone was on because I wanted to comment on some. But, yeah, It's awesome. I truly love what I do. I love the people that love it. I say it all the time. When I was growing up, you didn't have Instagram and even YouTube. So I didn't have that many friends that collected cards, but the commonality there that we each appreciate these pieces of cardboard or chromium if they're modern, whatever they are. There's so much there that there's just no reason to treat each other like, badly. Like the toxicity in this space, if I have anything to say about it, man, it's going to go away because it's just harmful to everyone and there's just no reason for it. We're all weirdos that love this stuff. So let's just take pride in it. Let's grow it and let's just be nice to each other because they're cards. There's no reason to freak out, even if you love SGC or hate SGC. Tell me you don't like the label. There's no reason to shout at me, It's like, what did I do?
Yeah. I got you. I'm going to read through some comments here because there's some good questions I also thought of a while back when you said some things. But Tom said, every time I see Peter speak or hear Peter speak, I speak the more confident I am in the future of SGC and the hobby. I really appreciate that he's not afraid to say when he doesn't know something. It's not done enough in the hobby. Nate and I try to do the same thing. Own up to, we say so many words. Every single week we say like 3 hours of different podcasts and videos. Obviously, we're going to say wrong things along the way. But really, it is taking ownership, which is the best thing. And
I've had to eat a lot of crow in my 3 years of this.
Yeah, no, look, I get it. And let me just say thank you for that comment, Tom. It means a lot to me. The best experts are the ones that know for a fact that they just don't know everything. And there are a lot of experts. I'm telling you guys, we know we're very well connected in this space. And we know the graders out there that don't, operate in this building or the experts elsewhere. There are a lot of them that just can never admit that they're wrong or they choose to act like they know what they're doing and they really don't. It is such an important quality of a real expert to be able to say, I don't know, or I got that wrong, whatever it may be. The best umpires in the league are the ones that are kind of, ready to eat it if they make, they blow it, so I appreciate that.
This is a really, really good question from Bobbles and Ball Cards. I had the exact same question. Speaking of alteration, have you given thought to adding the altered and the authentic for authentic, or the AU for authentic to the card side as an A, so it can be known by the buyers if it's altered or just slide authentic? And when you said that, we'll give it an A if it's altered or whatever, I thought the exact same thing because personally, just as a collector, this is someone who's just sitting here as everyone else in the stream. I'd want to know too.
Yep. No, sounds like something I need to work on, doesn't it? The fact that he has a question on it, Aaron, and now you're kind of scratching your head on it. You guys are 100% right. I have to say I greatly appreciate the question, Bobbles. I hope this comes off the right way. The last thing I want to do is sound like, I mean something I don't. I didn't learn anything from that question. What I mean by that is I was aware it's not the best way, in my opinion, rather than just the letter A to represent authentic, it's a label. It can say authentic, and I think it should. And I think that in that respect, PSA's label, if you look at a PSA label, it says the word authentic. There's really nothing else, left to be questioned. And I would agree that is the way that SGC should be doing it. And I can tell you that we're taking steps to kind of just improve that display of the authentic symbol. However, make no mistake, any card that is encapsulated by SGC, any card has been deemed to be authentic. So if the card is graded numerically, you can assume this is authentic and it's in the condition of a 9 or a 4. And if the card is in an A, you're right, it may be altered, but it is authentic. You'd never see a card of any kind that is inauthentic encapsulated by SGC. A clearer representation of the word authentic would definitely, I think, be effective. And I agree with you guys, and we're on it.
Do you think that there should be something that says alter on there if it is alter? I think that was the second part.
That's also a really common question, actually, for a while. That one's a little harder to get into simply because there are certain cards. I'm telling you guys, when these, card doctors, whatever you want to call them, the guys who fix up the cards to get them in better condition, they don't stop at one thing. The card could be in a 3, but they want a 10 on it, so they'll lay down the corner on the left side. They'll clean the card, they'll flat, and that's when it becomes difficult. It's like there's 4 alterations on this. or sometimes even the explanation goes beyond just a word, just a word designation. For example, I spend a lot of time in our grading room. Like I would argue anyone running a grading company should. And, from the grading room, I could tell you guys that there are cards where I'll hear our head grader say, this is not trimmed, but it's short. I'm positive it's not trimmed, but it's very short. It came from the factory that way. Conversely, you'll have a grader say, man, this thing is big, but this is trimmed on 4 sides. And how does that happen? How does a card come larger than the measurements out of the factory should be, but it's trimmed on 4 sides? Well, you take an uncut sheet, you cut up that sheet by hand, you trim it down, it looks like a beautiful 10, but the card is twice the size that the card should be, which is a telltale sign it was cut off a sheet. So it gets very intricate when it comes to why the card received the alteration it did. But I also want to admit there's more we can do, and we're on it. We're on it. I promise you guys, we're running as fast as we can to make this just the best grading company in the world for you guys. It's a process, but we are truly, our ears are wide open, and we appreciate the feedback.
I just want to make sure that this comments heard about the whole redesign of the label, and Peter mentioned earlier that all options are being considered when it comes to label and designing, because they do hear obviously everyone's, oh, we don't like this label, that slab, whatever. But like keep in mind that everyone has different preferences, but they are looking into that. He did say.
Yeah, the thing, and just to reiterate, Aaron, the thing that really means a lot to me when we change the label is that people who currently own SGC cards, and there's a lot of them, are happy with it as well. I'd rather not serve one segment of our collecting community. I'd rather hopefully we could come up with something, if we chose to move forward with it, that satisfied everyone. It's not easy, but you can't accomplish it if you don't try, if you don't, work on it. And that's why we just work on everything. It doesn't mean that everything's going to work out and be rolled out, but we hear you loud and clear.
Hip Hop says, you guys are the truth right now in the grading market. Salute for transparency. It's appreciated very much.
Greatly appreciated. It's quite easy.
Bishop has SGC ever thought about creating a horizontal slab? Do you feel like there's a market there for collectors with the horizontal slab for cards that are horizontal?
Right. So what I would say here is, there's been a few different kind of suggestions or feedback or questions posed by your audience. And some of them I'm just like, yes, you are right on. Great question. And we're working on it. Or, another one I'll in my head, my wheels are spinning because I'm like, wow, that guy will be very happy in a few months when we roll out X. That is a little more I don't want this to come off the wrong way, because if you want it, it makes sense. You're a collector. You want your horizontal slabs to be that way. But I would call it's a little, please don't take this the wrong way, but just a little more cute. It's a little more, this will be fun, that would be cool type thing. And that's not to say we shouldn't kind of approach those things and dive headfirst into those things. But remember, we're a company like any other. We do have a finite amount of resources and individuals working for the team. And with the objectives we have now, we've kind of prioritized those over something like a horizontal slab. But that's not to say it's, we're ruling anything out.
Sweet.
Hey, that
go ahead.
Kind of reminds me. Yesterday we were looking at, was it a BGS booklet, Aaron?
Yeah.
Absurdly big. Do you guys grade booklets?
So that's actually something that I've been talking about for a while. There is no good home for booklets right now. And hey, don't take that as a knock on Beckett, who I believe grades most of the booklets, because we don't have anything. So please don't take that as me saying their booklet holder stinks, because we don't have one, but it's not great. I'm not going to lie. This is not a shot at them, because we don't even have one, but their holder is not the best for booklets. And I think even they would tell you that, it kind of goes back, Nate, to that discussion that we had earlier about how hard these cards are to encapsulate safely and account for everything. Because obviously out of a product like National Treasures, you have vertical booklets, you have horizontal booklets, you have booklets with a patch that's this thick, and then you have booklets that just have 2 cut autos of Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig in it, so the card is only a 40-point card. There's a lot there, which is why none of the companies have come up with the best of the best solution. But that is something, it's almost like if these manufacturers are going to continue to put an emphasis on booklets and continue to enhance the quality, and with that, the value of the cards, it only makes sense that one or hopefully all of the grading companies kind of do their part to give these cards the home they deserve. Because I think a big thing about cards in general and collecting in general is feasibility. You know, I often say about the uniform market, the game used uniform market. They're so fun for me to collect, but how do you do it? I'm going to display every uniform I have? My fiance would kill me. You know, what's nice about cards is they fit in a box. My whole collection is this big. And the thing about booklets is when you don't have a good way to collect them, you don't really want them. And when you don't want them, they don't sell for much, you know, that kind of thing. So I do think there's a lot of room for booklets. It's important we give those cards, again, the home they deserve, because there are some killer booklets out there, you know, and it's too bad that they have to, you know, if you ever go to a card show, you kind of see they're oftentimes either closed up, kind of like in a normal top load, you know, I don't know. It's one of those weird, like, things that like the National Treasures cards come in.
Yeah, Peter, I agree with you. I've definitely, like, you know, I've had a booklet or two in my day, but I have passed on so many because it's like, what do I do with it? That's the problem.
Totally. I say all the time, there are really large cards too, where there's either not a great holder for them or there's not a holder big enough. And it's really a shame, because the second that you can't, you know, you can't feasibly collect these things and transact these things, you know, you tend to not want them as much, which is a shame.
All right, we got like a back here. Let's see how quickly we can get through these three. Does SGC do slab grading crossover? And if so, do I get charged if it wasn't re-slab due to minimum grade or same grade?
So you get charged, but here's the thing. And the reason you get charged is because that card is not only going to a grader, but it's literally following the exact process as everyone else. Let me kind of start from the beginning here. Yes, we do crossover grading. It's something also that I think we need to be a little more, I don't know, front-facing about, I guess you'd say. I don't think the whole world understands that you can actually give SGC that Zion RPA and a Beckett 9, pay me $30 and tell me, hey, you know, I only want it if it's an SGC 9.5. And if we agree with Beckett and we feel that it's a 9, we'll simply give it back to you in the Beckett holder and tell you that the minimum grade wasn't met and not charge you an extra $1 for it. That is a major benefit that I often scratch my head about and say, you know, why aren't more collectors using this? Especially, you know, any PSA reveal, any Beckett reveal, or by the way, any SGC reveal, there's always a card or two that the collector kind of questions, you know, like that one looked really good when I sent it, but it got a 9 and I thought it was a 10 or whatever it may be. Well, the beautiful thing about SGC is for the same price as really any card's grade, you can send it in for crossover and we'll take a look at it. And if we agree with you, it'll bump. In other words, there's no downside, because if you only want the card cracked out, if it upgrades, we'll follow your direction. If you want the card cracked out as long as it's authentic and transferred to our holder, we'll follow that as well. And like I said, the little secret that I'm going to give your audience is that you could submit some really big modern only cards, because the vintage we've been getting for a long time, and we're pretty broken into that market. But the high-end ultra modern guys, you could get a steal grading with SGC, because it's no secret that we're looking to just continue to expand our footprint, and that happens to be one of our weaker markets that we're looking to work on.
Cool. Awesome. Elijah, best practices for what to look for when buying rare, unique vintage cards. Definitely understand if you can't answer for obvious questions. I think the question was first posed for raw cards. I'm sure this could be like an hour-long discussion on exactly like what's the best stuff to look for. I don't know. Maybe this is a question that's just around like, hey, the nice corners, the nice edges. Maybe it's just a very intro question. I'm not exactly sure though.
Centering and eye appeal. If your card looks nice, and I would argue it's really hard to have a great looking card if it's way off center. Centering is the single biggest contributor, I would say, maybe besides registration, to eye appeal. If you're looking for great vintage cards that you want to do well with SGC, my advice, guys, is to get cards that are nicely and registered, that have a solid kind of image, and they're centered. The way our graders look at it is these are pieces of art as far as we're concerned. And would you rather a pristine frame around an ugly painting, or would you rather a beautiful painting that's seen some hands? You know, it's got that frame that's a little beat up, but the painting is just gorgeous. So my point is sharp corners are great until the guy, you know, Cobb has 3 eyes on the T206. And then do we really care about the corners because he's got 3 eyes? You know, that's kind of, you know, it gets more technical than that, obviously. But if anyone looking to get into vintage grading with SGC keeps that in mind, they'll probably never really be shocked by the grades they receive, because that's what our guys and girls tend to, I guess you'd say, look out for. You know, that eye appeal component, that beauty that comes with trading cards in general.
Got one from Justin Kim here. Has been asking a lot of questions about international shipping and different stuff like that. Justin's from Korea. It seems like any way they could run group subs for SGC fans in Korea. I've emailed a couple times regarding the issue, but got no reply back.
So here's the thing. It really kills me when people say I've emailed a couple times and have no reply back. I'm not doubting that is the case, but I have no idea how that's the case, because I have support@gosgc.com. And then if you're emailing one of my team members, basically, I know for a fact they always answer. So for whatever reason, I surely apologize that you haven't received a call back, or excuse me, an email back. Email support@gosgc.com. And if I don't know, if you don't receive an answer, comment on one of our Instagram posts or something and let me know, because it just doesn't make sense. I've seen that before where someone will say, but I haven't heard back, you know, and it just doesn't make sense to me, because I look at our customer service team and we're all caught up. And I certainly know that our other individuals in kind of our account management and business development department wouldn't drop the ball on that. So I apologize. But if you are interested, I would email support@gosgc.com, and you could tell them that Peter told you to do so, and we'll make sure to put you in the right hands. Sorry about that.
There we go. It's awesome.
Hey, I like this question. I'm gonna
go ahead, Nick.
How often does the surface that's not visible to the naked eye ding a card grade?
Not often. I mean, it depends. This is really general. I don't want to jump to an answer because it's a general question. There's modern, there's vintage, there's different levels of surface. What is it? Surface. How often does the surface that it's not, like a surface ding? Is a ding a dimple that's a crater this big, but it happens to be on a white flawless card, so your eye doesn't pick it up? Or is a ding the smallest little, you know, micro scratch that's not even as wide as, you know, the space between my 2 fingers? It's a general question, but I will say this. We actually gave a tour of our office to the sports card investor team. And in that tour, we walked the community through one of the machines that we use. It's called the VSC machine. And it's basically, it's like the microscope of all microscopes. It changes the shades and you know, it gets it down to like the pixels of the card. And in one of the examples we used, it revealed a crease that you may not have known was there. A common misconception based off of that video and that exercise was that people thought that we're just absolutely destroying these cards, putting them under these crazy microscopes, every card. And if we see this, all of a sudden the card's graded a 6. That is not the case. To us, guys, we grade cards to the market. We are here to serve all of you. I always tell our team, we're looking to get the buyers the exact money they deserve, not a dollar less, not a dollar more, but also protect the sellers so that the sellers to get the dollar less, dollar more, and the buyers to get exactly the card they're looking for. So if they buy a 6, it shouldn't be a 5.5 or a 6.5. It should be a 6. What I mean by that is a card that doesn't have a visible flaw. Will we downgrade it if it's significant enough? Yes, we will. Will we keep in mind that it's not visible? 100%. That matters to us. These flaws are not all created the same, and the way that they kind of are, I guess you'd say, interpreted by the hobby, we're very in touch with. And I think we can all agree, guys, that if you have a card, let's say you have a, I don't know, we'll say Kevin Durant rookie, and there's something on it that you can't see, but you know is there if you angle it just right, that card will be dinged probably less than if you just look at the card from an arm's length and you could see that flaw. I mean, that's got to make sense that there's different levels to this stuff. So it's very difficult to answer, you know, in a granular way, such a broad question, but hopefully that provided some insight into our approach.
Bishop's got some great questions tonight. Peter, as technology increases, do you think SGC will ever use AI to help grade cards or high-def scanners / microscopes?
Well, we do now. We don't grade with AI. We grade off of an expertise that's kind of essentially based around tribal knowledge and experience that was accumulated in our industry for over 20 years. But I'd be lying if I said that there was, the last thing I want to do is lie about AI or our practices. So no, that it's technology. I would call it technology aided, I guess, where we have it right there. It's kind of front and center in our grading room whenever we'd like to utilize it. But I would be lying if I said a robot is grading every card. And I would also be lying if I said that's what we were putting all resources into. I have to be honest with you guys. We're very good at teaching card collectors how to become card graders. We're very, very good at it. So much so that I actually have a surplus of graders. What I need more help with is the encapsulation process is very difficult. And that's where we're trying to grow right now, because we have ample kind of experts walking around. And I use that term loosely. I should say passionate card collectors, passionate hobbyists that can very easily be integrated into our grading room with the proper training. But the issue isn't always that. The common assumption is that the bottleneck is the grading. And with SGC, it's actually not the case, because we've shown to be very effective in the scaling and the kind of handing off of the knowledge.
Thank you for answering that. There's a lot of really, really good comments here. Just nice comments. Jennifer, this is such a good show. Can't believe with my attention span I've stayed this long. I still can't believe Nate's still sitting there.
I'm going to second that, because I have the world's worst attention span, and I've actually been listening to Peter. So Peter,
that's awesome, guys.
If the president of the grading company doesn't work out, I think you have a second career as a public speaker.
I appreciate it, man. I think the reason people say that is because I really do love this stuff. Like, I'm not, how much preparation I put into this show? Zero. It's like I forgot I was coming on from the hours of 5 to 6 type thing, and I just love talking cards. I'm truly jealous of you guys that get to talk cards a lot more than I do. But, being able to help the hobby in any way just doesn't stink all that much. So I really appreciate that comment.
And Jordan is demanding. He just wants to know IHOP or Waffle House, Peter.
Ooh, I'll tell you one thing. IHOP tends to be a lot more accessible. There was a Waffle House. I went to school at Florida State, go Knowles in Tallahassee. There was a beautiful Waffle House there that I took full advantage of. I'm a fan of both, I'd say. I'm a fan of both. I used to get the smiley face pancakes at IHOP when I was a kid. Still remember that. So,
along those same lines, real quick. I know there are Culvers now in Florida. Have you made your way to a Culver's yet?
I can say that I've never heard of Culver's,
what?
Let alone eaten there.
Oh my gosh, Peter. Yeah. I don't know. I might kick you up.
We got to kick him off.
I could list through, guys, the entire Taco Bell menu, Wendy's, all of them. I don't know anything about Culver's.
If you find a Culver's, you'll have to try it. That is Wisconsin in Florida.
Do yourself a favor. Look it up after this. There's at least a couple Culver's in Florida. I don't know what part of Florida you're in. There may be one close by. Well worth traveling to get a burger and some custard and some cheese curds.
Custard? What is it, like a milkshake?
Oh no.
That's a real, you guys are getting real Wisconsin on me when you talk about custard. I mean, like yogurt? Like almost
yogurt. They give them a lesson.
Custard is basically, people like to say
this is where all the viewers drop off, by the way. Once we start talking custard, they're out. Anyway.
Oh no, if they had custard, they'd know. It's basically like ice cream, but way more creamy and delicious.
Well, I like creamy and delicious. So,
Justin, first time joining the SlabStox live due to different time zones, but wanted to say there are many people in Korea who appreciate what you do, both Aaron and Nate. Thank you, and we say thank you back. That's awesome to hear. We always really like to hear just any feedback like that, especially from the international community. To know we're touching people over there is so cool. Sam's got a good question here. And I know Nate brought up something like this, but a lot of cards have print defects. Let's say like print lines on a Bowman Chrome Auto. How does SGC grade these cards? With what standards?
So there's different, so you said Bowman Chrome Auto. That's very different than a print defect on a 51 Bowman Maze that is riddled with print defects, So these things, again, it's very dangerous to talk about one thing as it's impossible, I guess I should say, to give a true answer on that. And anyone who does is not in the best interest of the hobby, because they're just so different. But for example, if you have a Bowman Chrome Auto, like Aaron said, and there's a scratch on the surface, which unfortunately, as I know myself from opening Bowman Chrome for years, there's a lot of scratches on surfaces right out of the pack. But it's very important, guys, where that scratch lies. For example, there have been times when I'm flipping through cards and you'll see a scratch, and the scratch literally cuts through the player's eyes, okay? Obviously, as the grading company who's in charge of protecting the buyers of these cards as well as the sellers, we can't say that's a gem mint card. We probably can't say that's a mint card, because not only is there a scratch, but it is so detrimental to the enjoyment of the piece. It is cutting through the individual's face, you know? So that card, that defect, we would hit much, much, much further than a defect if it's a, you know, imagine a nick about that big, right in the bottom right-hand corner. It doesn't disrupt the image of the card at all. It's there and we'll knock you for it. But you know, again, that knock is very different. And it's important that it's different, because it should be different, because not all defects are created equal. So it really depends. But if it bothers you as a collector a lot, it'll probably bother our graders, because they're kind of in it to protect you. So if it's not that bad, we will probably agree with you. But if it is that bad, we'll also probably agree with you.
Tom said, I could definitely listen to Peter talk the business all night. Feels like a free seminar in education and grading. And I'd say, I think that's why there's been 140, 150 people here sticking here for the last 2.5 hours, because this is not information that's just like readily available. I mean, you can find it by talking to other people, but keep in mind, everyone, this is the CEO, president of one of the big 3 grading card companies. So it's a very special opportunity to be able to listen. And even for us too, I mean, I'm learning stuff just sitting here. I'm sure Nate is too.
Yeah, definitely. And proof is in the pudding. William setting a cards aside for PSA.
No,
going to SGC now.
No.
Yeah, that, like, you know, thank you a lot. Thank you. You know, I'm just, like I said, guys, it's just really not that hard to do this. And I appreciate it so much to see a comment like that. It means a lot. I know that there are benefits to both companies. I know that there are very good reasons to send a certain card to one as opposed to the other. And the fact that anything I'm saying here and teaching you guys more about SGC is helping kind of, you know, sway that feeling to grade that card with us, it really means a lot. So thanks a lot, William. I appreciate that.
Let's see.
My favorite question of the night. Can I bring it up?
Yep.
Oh, lost it. Oh, there it is. Why is Aaron?
I'm just the way I am, because I'm the way I am. I can't.
That's the question I've been asking for years.
Tony asked us a couple of times. I know Peter talked about this early on, but just Peter, really quick, will SGC ever do subgrades just for new people that joined?
Sure. So for the new people that joined, I'll give you the very, very short version. And please know I dove way farther into this earlier on. But basically, guys, SGC doesn't do subgrades because we just don't grade with them. We don't feel that we could provide accurate grading if we kind of locked ourselves into these 4 neat boxes, average those boxes, and give you a score. We don't find it to be an effective way of grading, or we would provide them, especially in the wake of supporters or collectors like yourself asking for that. So I want you guys to know that I want to give as much as I can, but when I feel that I'm sacrificing the essentially the product itself, the opinion of our experts, that's just a no-go for us. So unfortunately, we don't grade off of corners, edges, centering, and surface. There is a lot more that goes into it in addition to all of that. So I apologize for anyone who would want it, but please rest assured, you know, I'm going to do my best, guys, to kind of keep educating the community on grading with SGC and kind of the do's and don'ts and what we look out for. And there is going to be some great stuff, even in addition to that, hopefully coming in the near future for SGC to empower you guys and have you just gain a deeper understanding for not only how grading works, but also why your card may have graded that way.
And it sounds like that the Q's guy also, my whole PSA stack is going to SGC now. I as well just sent out like a 12 or 9 card submission today, and all of them went to SGC from the show this weekend.
That's amazing. And I say it all the time. Thank you so much again for that comment. I am rooting for you guys. I mean it, guys. So do our graders, by the way. When they are about to grade a new order, I promise you guys, they are hoping that every card's a 10. But they have to call it straight. You know, so what I mean by that is I hope when you guys submit, I hope you get, if you're a modern guy, all 10s, or if you're a vintage, you know, guy or girl, I hope you do great. But the one thing I can tell you is we're going to call it straight, guys. There's going to be no bias there. Anyone assigning grades to cards at SGC is an unbelievably well-trained individual with a deep respect, not only for your items in general, but for this hobby, this industry as a whole. And also know that we have checks and balances in place to maintain that the errors that are natural to come with human beings, we are catching absolutely as many as we can. And if you ask me, it's kind of it's all you can ask for. You know, if the card's not a 10, you shouldn't get a 10, but I hope all your cards get 10s. So just look them over carefully.
Andrew, do Canadian submitters get discounts? So I'm assuming it's the same fees for Canadian versus the United States.
Yeah, that would be a little difficult. I can understand, I guess, why that question would be asked. I would assume there may be further fees incurred by a supporter in Canada than one here domestically, and I feel for that. I really do. I hate to think that any collectors anywhere in the world have to pay more than others. But kind of piggybacking off of that sentiment, I almost feel it would be kind of a slippery slope. You know, why would a collector in Canada get a discount when the collector we spoke to earlier in South Korea wouldn't? And, you know, and it's a little tough. You know, this is like the hard part of my job almost, to just have to hear it and listen and feel for you. But I don't have a great answer right now, which I deeply apologize for. But I do want you guys to know that I take your feedback very seriously, and I will be speaking to our office manager and our shipping department once again on international shipping for the umpteenth time. But we're going to do our best, guys, to get this as low as possible for you guys to make it just easier and easier to grade with SGC.
All right, Peter, I got like a question here to wrap it up. We're approaching 2.5 hours now. So, you know, two things. We'll make this a twofold question. Is what's your number one goal for SGC in 2022? I know you set goals. It's obvious, you know, to turn your company into what it has been with your whole team. You have to have goals. And then also, why should a customer give SGC a shot if they're sitting here and saying, like others have had, I have a stack for PSA or BGS or whoever it might be, should it be SGC?
Well, I hope everyone gives us a shot. Obviously, I would argue that when you mean what you say what you mean, you're upfront. At the very least, you deserve a shot, you know. And that's not to say you deserve that second card, but I hope, guys, that you'll at least try us out either before. You know, there have been a few comments on the label. I hear you. You're entitled to that opinion, just like our supporters who love the label are entitled to their opinion. The only thing I ask is, there's no reason to be vicious and to act like we're like at war with one another. And it's almost like, don't knock it till you try it type mentality, you know? But speaking, Aaron, to your question on 2022, I mean it when I say I'm almost like I'm still that child who was going to doubleheader with his dad in Long Island, New York, to open up packs and packs and packs. And all I wanted for every holiday was just cards and cards. I am that guy. And it is literally an out-of-body experience. I mean it, everyone, to see you guys just loving hearing about grading and appreciating it and loving the experience. It makes me so happy to go online and see like people that are just wowed by the fact that their cards actually returned on time, or that they hit a 10 on a really tough card with a low pop, because SGC just grades, you know, true and doesn't factor in these other things. It means the world to me. And all I know, guys, is a lot of you have been very positive, but I think we all would agree that whether it's on another forum or another page or whatever it is, there are people that aren't positive, and there are people that are so, it's okay to be negative. I want to make that clear. There's been a lot of, I guess you'd call it negative, but constructive feedback here. You know, there's so much negativity, and in a lot of ways, almost like vitriol. I really, in 2022, would love to just contribute in any way possible to lowering that, growing the hobby, and just turning a lot more people, I guess, into SGC supporters, not on behalf of me, honestly, but this team. My favorite thing to do is to like just keep this train going and grow it and make more people happy. And like I said, it's a good enough business. I don't need to be here pinching every last penny of profit I can. You know, there's enough time to really sit back and kind of enjoy what really matters, which is making the thing that you grew up with so much better. It is a blessing like that I wish to everyone at some point in their life gets to, you know, do something like the opportunity I've been so lucky to have here. So I know that's, you know, general, but I think overall, guys, I just want to make more collectors happy, make the space bigger for all of us. And hopefully the negativity and the hate towards whether it's us or anyone else, just there's no point.
I agree. And then Nate just brought up a comment, I think, or maybe that was me on accident. But yeah, no walkthroughs right now, but looking into it in the future, I believe. Peter, I mean, that was well said. That was well said for sure. And I just want to appreciate or say thank you, and I appreciate all the time you gave not only us but the community right now too. I mean, this is a lot of people that came here, check this out, and hear you speak for good reasons. I mean, this was a lot of really, really important stuff, interesting stuff, and the nice thing is that Peter's doing this to help you all. You know, he's not here because obviously, you know, the more cards that come to SGC, the more SGC can grow. But really, it's like he didn't just sit here and say, "Hey, send us cards because we grade them fast," right? Like he could have just said that. He could have said, "We beat all the turnaround times," but he sat for 2 hours and explained their process, basically every single question that ever came up here. That's quite impressive. That's quite impressive, and I just thank you for that.
I believe me, Aaron, I really appreciate that, but I also want everyone to know that I'm willing to do this. This is not hard. It's very enjoyable for me. It's great to interact with all of you. I wish I could do it more, but just know that this will not be the end. I want to say it on record. Aaron, Nate, you guys have me anytime you want me for your community. If everyone enjoyed this, that's amazing to hear. And I am just really looking forward to kind of continuing this. Was this hard, guys? Like we just kind of sat around, the time got away from us. It's just talking what we love. So yeah, man, I appreciate the opportunity. And I think you guys have just done an incredible job of connecting with not only some hobby veterans, but also newcomers, which I think is rare for the space. And, you know, anytime there's really any content creator in the space looking to just move the ball forward for all of us, that should be looked at positively. And that's what I deem you guys to be. So I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Peter. And thank you everyone too for joining. Once again, apologies that my camera was broken tonight. I'm going to try to fix that as soon as possible. Last comment here, I'm just going to bring up from Hip Hop. Any plans to expand grading factories in other coasts?
So look, guys, we keep growing at the rate that we're growing. Believe me, there's a lot coming from SGC. I mean that too. We have shown an ability to scale to a great degree. We've actually done some experimentation on kind of opening, imagine like a little satellite that's right next door. So it's safe enough where we can monitor it and see what's going on, but it is disconnected in many ways. And it's been a smashing success. So theoretically, as far as I'm concerned, it would take not that much to look into something like that. And right now we are able to keep up. You all see that with the turnaround time. But believe me, I'm going to do everything in my power before I have to raise price. That's just not what I'm looking to do, because that equals, you know, unhappy faces, and I don't like it, and I don't want to. So if it meant expanding, you know, geographically, believe me, guys, I'm in. Nothing is too big for this team. We're really, this is just the start. You know, it's been 12 months, and you all have helped us so much, and believe me, guys, it's only going to get better from here.
Can't wait. That's awesome. I cannot wait. And once again, everyone, just thank you for coming. Please check out if you want to. I just dropped the link a little bit ago, but I'll drop the link again. That's the link that gives you all the services and pricing with SGC, and you can submit directly on their website if you want to walk through a submission process and track how fast it goes yourself. Feel free to do it there. And like I said, I sent off an order this morning with some super awesome cards, and I can't wait to give them back soon. And I thank Nate for being really, really in tune this entire time, because Peter, you just got something I might not have gotten for like 3 years. Once you talk on the same camera for someone for 3 years, they stop listening to you pretty quickly. So,
well, there you go.
There's times where Aaron's telling me something like about work, and all of a sudden I have to stop him and say, "Actually, can you repeat all that?" Because it turns out I heard like the first 2 words, and then
I may just be the glue that holds you two together.
there we go.
Yeah,
I like it. I like it. All right, everyone. Same place, same time next week, 6 p.m. Eastern time for another SlabStox Live. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Thank you, Peter, again. And we will see you all in the next episode.
And one last thing.
Yep, go
One last thing. Peter and everyone else, if you haven't got custard from Culver's, find yourself some Culver's this week. Go get yourself some custard.
I'm out. Thanks, guys. Thanks so much, everyone watching. Really appreciate it.
See you, Peter. Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys.